Yes, welcome back to Football Heritage TV. I am Savva. That is Box Office. He is the Hotspur Hood. And today, because Last Word on Spurs aren't streaming, we've got Marlon. We're like Marlon's like Christian Romero. I'm like Tottenham, and Last Word on Spurs are Argentina. If Argentina aren't playing, he's good enough to play for me. Gentlemen, how are we? Marlon, let me start with you. How are you, sir? Are you well?
I'm good. I'm relaxed. I'm as good as can be. Spurs ain't played a game yet, so I'm good.
Yeah, Spurs haven't ruined any of our weeks for about a month now, so it's all right. No, it's brilliant, isn't it? Right. Mr. Box Office, welcome. You're in a new setting. I like it. You're looking fresh. You're looking smiley. How long until somebody says something that pisses you off? How are you?
Fantastic. I mean, a fantastic move for Savva. Now, just hold on the people to, rattle them. I love them. I love this. Absolutely love this. You know what I mean?
Good. Yeah. Good. And Dan E, still living the Blackpool dream. How are you, sir?
Yeah. Just can't wait to get on. I'm basically at the point now. I want my bed back. I want to go home. As from Tuesday, we get a 5-hour drive back, and I'm home. I just cannot wait to get back.
See, no one wants to be in South
somewhere
London
too long
until they're somewhere else, and then they want to be in South London. Guys, today we've got a lot to talk about. It is the summer. We haven't played, but this is the week. We're about to start the week in which we do play our first friendly, which is on the same day. How rude of them as the FHTV barbecue. Very, very rude of Tottenham to do that. They should have checked our schedule. We've signed Mohamed Kudus. We have signed Morgan Gibbs-White, or have we? There is talks of new investors. There's talks of naming rights. There's talks of American owners and Saudi owners. There's talks of Vinay Venkatesham is now running football operations, and Daniel Levy has moved sideways, whichever way you like to say it, to more of the revenue operations, should we say. So it's all happening, guys. Tottenham, it feels like change. I'm going to start with you, Marlon, because you're the one I speak to the least, I think, on this panel. Are we all kidding ourselves that it's all change at Tottenham, or are we seeing a massive overhaul? Staff, directors, the way the club's run, new investment. What's going on at Tottenham, and is it a good time to be a Spurs fan, Marlon?
Look, the way everything's come out, it's looking positive. To throw 100 and odd million in 1 week on, to be honest, two players that all of us kid ourselves not would have wanted. Is good business for Spurs. However, there's always this bit in the back of my mind going, how much of it can I believe that Levy's gone sideways? How much of that can I actually believe? And the reason why I say that, and I think a lot of people took this out of context when I said last week, until there's a transfer that I know that doesn't sound like a Daniel Levy transfer, then I'll get a bit excited. And what I mean by that is, Kudus, it was at West Ham, who were in financial trouble. All of a sudden, it came out they needed 40 million from somewhere. Spurs opportunity signing. Went, here we go. I'm giving you 60 odd million, and they couldn't really say no.
Okay.
Release clause. Straight in, no negotiation, straight to a release clause, done. So for me, until I see that moment where Spurs are going for that number one target, and it's literally someone that they're gonna go to for now, and they don't just give up, and there's none of this, none of that, and it's a top quality player, like really top quality, that they, you can tell it's number one target. That's when I'll get a bit excited that this is all changing around me.
Can you give me an example then, Marlon? Because I'm going to be honest. I think the tables have turned, people, and I think Marlon is now the most negative Spurs YouTuber I know after these comments. Can you give me an example, Marlon? Who would that player be that makes you go?
Yeah, that's the question. That is the $1 million question, because at this present moment, I can't sit there and say who that, because out of who the availability out there at the moment as well, you kind of have to go with the flow and go, look, Morgan Gibbs-White, if he's got a release clause, he's a quality player. I'm so glad that he might be coming through the door. Kudus, I'm actually quite excited about him under Frank and what Frank can do for him. So, and I can see like certain players are fitting Frank's system, but at the present moment, who the player in my mind, I've been trying to think about this when I said it, like what kind of player would it be? I don't know if, like, not even Eze, because Eze has a release clause, but it's a bit more complicated because it is Palace that we're dealing with. So I'm looking at it going,
but that's not true, is it? That's not true. Like, a release clause is a release clause, whether it's Eze or Morgan Gibbs-White. Pay the money, get the player. So what would be? Are you saying the difference there is the fact that Eze seems to be everybody's favourite, number one target, as opposed to Morgan Gibbs-White, who came out of nowhere?
Well, I feel like the Palace situation is a bit more complicated on the release clause than the Nottingham Forest one. And the reason why I'm thinking that is because I think Forest are holding it up for another reason. They've come out with what they've come out with, but I feel like what they're doing is they're lining up their replacement, but they don't want their replacement, whoever they're going to go and get, to be an X amount of money, because it's then putting pressure on them, especially because they had PSR problems last year, and they've got to be quite carefully, especially with Europe now. They've kind of got to do it in a strategic way going forward, where Palace have only found out their fate on Friday, which competition they're going to be in. Different on what they're trying to do. But look, I don't know. Everything else is, all I'm saying is everything else around at Spurs looks positive. Looks like the direction that we've all been asking for years. But at this present moment, there's still certain positions that, we're still lacking in the squad. But I'm not going to sit there and moan about it now, because season's not for another, 4 or 5 weeks. So I'm going to wait till the first game of the season, see how it gets on, and then go from there. But look, being a Spurs fan right now, I can't see why people would want to be negative, especially what I've just said. It's a case of, let's see if the tables are finally turned after 25 years.
I mean, interesting, Dan. Let me bring you in. Is Marlon bang on there? Is it a bit harsh? I mean, in the space of 24 hours, Daniel Levy, the stroke Vinay, stroke whoever is running this football club these days, has gone and got Gibbs-White. We'll talk about later, but Gibbs-White and Kudus in 24 hours. And Marlon's sitting there saying, I want to see us do something different that we wouldn't normally do. I mean, is he being a bit harsh?
I could be honest with you. I'm thinking, what are you going on about? I agree with the majority of what you said until you get to the point of, we only done a release clause. Tell me once when Spurs have ever put 60 million on the table, whether it's a release clause or not. But tell me once when we've ever put that amount of money on the table and just, there you go.
So like,
when have we ever even? We didn't do that. No, we didn't. We didn't pay 60 million up front for him and just put it on the table. And then we still bought him in shares.
Yeah,
we still bought. When have we gone and put 60 million on a table and said we are having that player because we want him and walking out with him? Usually we get the thing that we do with like Eze, where in a way his one's more complicated but easier because you can pay it off in 20 million bits now, whatever they got. Whereas with Morgan Gibbs-White one, you had to put the 60 million on the table there and then. We're usually the ones who go, right, 20 mil, and then 10 mil if we win the Champions League and this and that, which we never will. And that's how Levy usually tries to do it. The harder way for this club to do it, in my opinion, is to just go, bang, that's who we want. That's who we're having. There's your money. We've got your man. When do Spurs ever do that? And Solanke was bought in basically on a drip feed, basically. He wasn't bought up front. Yeah. So when have we gone and slammed £60 million on the table and said, that's our man, we're having him? And to me, that's as positive as you get with Spurs.
Yeah, I
get where you've come from. I agree with most of what you said, apart from that one particular bit.
Yeah, I get that. And I'm still in the fact of, look, Levy is still at this club, and I'm not going to get all high and mighty, because at the end of the day, we've kind of seen this rodeo before, where something we think is going to change, and then all of a sudden, it goes back to being Spurs again. And I'm not going to sit there and be overexcited just yet, because for me, Daniel Levy is always going to be an issue for me, no matter what. And no matter what things have changed, because Daniel Levy went and spent on 9 players when we were going. He never does that, but yet we always end up back in the same situation. So for me, at the moment, it's all brilliant. Don't get me wrong, it's all great, but I'm not putting everything into it yet because there's always that thing in my head that's niggling going.
Once
but I'm loving
twice.
it. Yeah.
I
I'm
don't do
loving
that
it. I'm not
either.
loving it. Yeah.
I mean, the only point I'm making is the most positive bit for me is that we just paid money up front for once. I've got your attitude as well. I mean, the attitude I have with Tottenham is we could be 4 points clear at the top of the table on the last game of the season. And the worst we can do is lose it and win by 1 point. And somehow or another, we'd get 2 points deducted and still lose it. I'd still be looking over my shoulder. So that's basically, I'm still just waiting for something to go tits up, basically. Like the only time we do slam the money down on the table for the player and basically walk out of him, all of a sudden something just had to not go right.
Yeah. But this is the thing. Yeah,
I agree with everything you've said, but that one thing, when have we ever paid that money up front to walk out?
That's quite funny. We've gone and banged down 60 million on the table, but yet something still went wrong. So I'm kind of like going,
but this one, I don't think it was Levy. This one, no. Who's got the with his previous people who done the contracts and that. Because it weren't the most sensible contract ever. This one weren't Levy, in my opinion. This one's just, I mean,
it's interesting because I believe is it 60 million because we're a Champions League club or something like that instead of if it would be slightly different if it wasn't. I've read somewhere. I don't know if I've read somewhere something like that.
It's more than possible. It's more than possible.
Makes
but
sense.
Then City was meant to have a couple of weeks before put down an offer of 75 million, but paying it in shares and bits, and if we win this, and if
City wanted it last year, didn't they?
Yeah, but the difference was with it, Forest didn't have to accept it. The only thing they ever had to accept was 60 million cash on the table, and if it's the bit that you say as well, where City didn't offer Forest 60 million there and then, they offered them 75, but in 5 payments, whatever.
Probably
same as with Eze and Palace and that, they didn't have to accept it, and they didn't. Now they're wishing they did accept it. Now they're wishing they did accept it.
Well, let me bring Alex in. Evening, Alex. I'm going to pluck something else that Marlon said there. He's given us some good food for thought here, Marlon. He really has. By the way, I will keep anyone updated who's not watching. It is PSG versus Chelsea in the World Club Cup final, and so far, 12 minutes in, Chelsea are dominating this game and should be winning. And João Pedro looks very good. Alex, Marlon just said, kudos. Oh, it was only, we only managed to get that deal done because, they needed the money for PSR reasons. Isn't that a bit harsh? I mean, this was a deal that everyone said Daniel Levy wasn't going to be able to do. It was going to be too much. He gets it done and we're still not happy. Like, we're still critiquing him for that. Is it a bit harsh?
In one way, I'd like to absolutely banter him, rattle him, and say that you are being negative, Marlon. You are being negative, but at the same time, I can understand to a point why he's got his doubts. Because West Ham might have. I don't look at it what Marlon's thinking it like that. I look at it like people have got a bit of doubts about him because of his form last season. I think that's main issue with him at the moment. And 60 million for somebody that just didn't look maybe interested at West Ham was, it's a bit of a risk. You know what I mean? It could go wrong. You know what I mean? You could look at the PSR thing, but that's what teams are doing now. I think teams are just trying to find a way, and I think that's what West Ham thought in that way. I think things have changed to a point. I do understand his further point as well about we need to see how this plays out in the next couple of months as well, because I don't think you can really just go on the basis of just certain things that you see happening, with what's happening with the ownership, Daniel Levy not being in charge, Vinay being in charge, and things things are happening quickly with certain things like Morgan's White. That for me is a big statement for me, because he's been hot property this season, and the way that we just gone and got that release clause done, just put it on the table, and he was going to have a medical on Friday. That's quite a big change for me. So that shows me that things have changed a little bit in that sense. All the rumours as well, that you can see that's changed as well. But the only thing I would say with Marlon, in regards to kudos, I do feel that Tottenham have to make that sort of risk with certain players like kudos, like a Grealish, if it's to believed, because Tottenham Hotspur are not going to be able to go for that top player. They're not going to be able to go for that top player, and they're not going to be able to go for the up and coming players, because some of the top teams are going for those players, and unfortunately, top players are always going to go to those top teams. So Tottenham Hotspur are going to have to take a risk on certain players like a Grealish, like a Kudos, because they were great at a certain time. And if they do come into Tottenham, you've got somebody like a Thomas Frank, and I'm not saying that Thomas Frank is the oracle yet, you know what I mean? Even though I will say at the moment, you know, what he says, I'm quite on board with him. That he could do something what Harry Redknapp did with these players, like Sam Allardyce did with certain players, like Martin O'Neill did with certain players. You know, bring them in, try and put an arm around them, put them in a new environment, set a coaches around them, and probably you can get the best out of them. You know what I mean? And maybe use them and to try and interact with some different sort of players that are in around. You know what I mean? I think it's quite bold what we're doing at the moment, but it does also put pressure on it put pressure on the management that are in charge at the moment as well for me. So I kind of agree with Marlon to a point, but also there's things that I don't agree with, if you understand what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I hear you, mate. I hear you. By the way, just some breaking news that Sporting Lisbon have confirmed that a deal has been agreed with Arsenal for Gyökeres, and they're getting him for 54 million pounds, with 10 million in add-ons. It's sorry, just to make that clear, 63 million euros with 10 million euro add-ons. And his representatives have waived their fees to get the deal over the line. So Arsenal look like they've got their man. And Arteta's got nowhere to hide, right? Apparently all they needed was a striker, and they're winning the league. So let's see what they do. So it looks like that deal's happening. Lubo, good evening to you, sir. Straight in from the airport. See, Marlon could learn a thing from you or two. Straight in from the airport, straight down to his football heritage duties. Marlon's only here because Ricky Sachs hasn't gone live tonight, Lubo.
Is that right?
Yeah. Shocking behaviour. Shocking.
Sav, don't embarrass him. He's looking very embarrassed now, Marlon.
Good. Bloody good. Bloody good. Lubo, how was the flight? And happy to be back in sunny London?
Yeah, lovely. Had a lovely week off. Go away and all hell breaks loose with Tottenham Hotspur. I mean, what a week.
I know. It's been interesting. I mean, look, just quickly, we were talking about whether or not what Spurs have done with. We'll talk about the Gibbs-White controversy in a bit. So we're just going to assume that the deal was done. And we're talking about whether or not those two as a deal, is it Spurs acting differently? Marlon was kind of suggesting that they were quite similar, and I get what he's saying. One was a release clause. One was a club that were in trouble with PSR. Are Spurs acting differently, Lubo, or are we all getting caught up in the usual delusion and emotions that we do as Spurs fans?
No. Listen, we've got to wait and see what happens in the next 6.5 weeks. But very quietly, hopefully saying, after 25 years, we've got our Tottenham back. Because it seems as though our beloved chairman has been pushed to one side. And Vinny is in charge of football affairs at last. Praise the Lord. It's happened. It seems to have happened. Because we
didn't it get said they both have to agree?
Sorry, we've never behaved like this in 25 years. Never.
Ian, didn't it agree, like they made it clear that, okay, he might be more in control of that one and that one, but nothing can go through without both of them shaking hands.
No. Vinny's there. Charrington and Vinny are running it now.
Well, that's not what they both said together,
They
though.
are running Tottenham Hotspur.
But they both said together that any deal that goes through is through both of them. They both said that.
He can say
I forgot, Ian. You work behind the books, don't you? I forgot about that one, mate. Come on, admit it. Levy's got part of this as well.
Dan,
you will do everything you can to get him out of this, one way or another.
Listen, have you ever listen? It's completely changed, hasn't it? The whole thing's changed. So just working on logic and common sense. One guy runs a club one way for 25 years. All of a sudden, everything's changed. We've got two new people on the board. One of them was running the football side at Arsenal for 14 years. He hasn't come here to be Levy's yes man. He's here to do a job. And I genuinely believe Lewis has put him in to run the football team. Enough nonsense now. Now we're going to be now we're acting in the transfer market like a proper football club.
Well, that's what I hope has happened.
Yeah.
But I don't think Levy's been completely pushed out to the side. He ain't got to say nothing. I do not believe that for 1 minute.
I'm sure. Listen, I'm sure he'll be running the non-footballing side. I'm sure
that would be the best thing for him. If I took over at Spurs, I would quite happily keep Levy there to do that job because he's probably the best in football at it. But I still think he's got a bit more to say with things than you're going. But I get where you're coming from.
I think Vinny's running it.
Fair enough.
I love this. Vinny is running it. You know all we need now? I just need Sean Butler to rock up and go, no, Lubo, no, you've got no evidence of this at all. This is not what's happening. By the way, Chelsea are 1-0 up. They've literally scored in the last second. Cole Palmer. Also, I'm hearing with these and reading with these that West Ham are about to launch a bid for Harvey Elliott of West Ham of Liverpool. I think that's a decent signing. I think if they get him, that's a good signing. I think he'd be the main man there. Guys and girls, I don't know. The goal might be disallowed. I've got no idea what's going on. You know when the sound is off. But look, guys, it's not Spurs like. I think the fact that the two deals were announced inside 24 hours is very un-Spurs like. What is Spurs like? As Marlon alluded to earlier, is that even with the deal we went and whacked down, according to people, we whacked down 60 million, right, for a release clause. I don't know if that's true. There are some people saying that the release clause was only active from the 1st to the 14th of July, which would mean that release clause runs out tomorrow, which means it's going to be very fun for all the lawyers who are about to get involved in this shenanigans. But guys, Spursy, I mean, as much as we want the tag to go away, I'm not saying we've done anything wrong, so don't know the full story. But isn't it so Spursy, this Morgan Gibbs-White situation, lads? Like, we can't be happy, can we? We can't ever be given our day as a Spurs fan to enjoy without something bad happening the next day. Is everyone confident this deal's going to get done? Is everyone confident? Is everyone, Alex, you confident? You're the only one that's not. Are you? Yeah, you are.
I was going to say yes. Yeah.
All right. So why are we all confident the deal's going to get done then? Why are we all so confident?
I think
I
don't believe the club's done anything wrong. Basically.
It's very unlike Spurs to be doing something wrong. Like,
no,
we've been doing this for so long. Come on.
That's
It's unlike Spurs.
It's not Levy. That's how you know it's not.
No. This is how. But it's like, let's be honest. Like, Spurs don't do stuff like this and not go through everything before they go and make that bid. It wouldn't be us. So I think that's why I'm a bit more confident about it, because at the end of the day, Spurs kind of, whatever we want to think about, everything's changing. Something like this ain't going to change. There's been too many people still working at the club that will know everything that they're doing. And no matter what Lubo says, Levy will play some hand in this. I don't care what people he says. Levy will be somewhere in this. No matter.
So hold on, you don't reckon that Levy's sitting in the background going, I'm leaving everything to other people, and then they've just rocked up and someone's popped their head around the office of Levy and gone, just so you know, just slap £60 million on Gibbs-White. See you later. Bye-bye. You don't think that's happened?
No.
No, I can't
Sorry,
see it
Daniel.
happening.
Could
I
you
love
just
to
sign
believe.
this off?
I love to believe Lubo on that. I really do. And I've heard things that's been pushed aside, but he loves to get himself way too much involved in certain things, and he might be pushed a little bit where there's now more people talking on it, but there's no way Spurs would have messed this up. There's no way. And like I was listening to what's his name, Sky Andrew a bit, and
Yeah.
this is just normal. This is normal that agents and players talk to each like before the clubs even talk to each other. The agents and players are already talking to clubs. So this tapping up business, I don't know what's going on there. But no, I see it's going to go through. But I think what I said earlier is I think Nottingham Forest. I think because of how upset the fans were on Thursday, they had to play a PR little moment with their fans and go, no, look,
Marlon, it weren't just Thursday, was it? You think 2 days before Alanga signed for Newcastle?
So like, as well, so they've lost two big players in 2 days.
They've lost two of their stars. As much as Wolfie comes onto my shows and says, "Oh, Gibbs-White isn't one of our star players." Sorry, mate, he was nominated for Player of the Year. You know what I mean? Like don't.
And when he fell off, Forest fell off. If you look at the back end of the season, when he fell off, so did Forest.
So do you not think we did anything wrong, Marlon? Are you in the camp of Spurs haven't done anything, and this bloody Nottingham Forest owner is just pissing everyone off that he can in the league?
Yeah,
right.
Pretty much. He's got form for it. He's not. This ain't first. So I'm kind of looking at it going, look, Gibbs-White will be playing in a Spurs shirt on August the 13th when we play PSG. I'm that confident.
I'm confident it's going to happen as well. What I'm starting to think has happened, and I can only go by what I see in that. For what me and you spoke about this morning, Savva, and spoke about with a few others, I didn't actually know that it wasn't legit to go straight to the agent and talk to the agent. I actually thought that was legit. I just thought it was the player you can't have contact with. Whereas that Sky fellow on there blatantly said, you are not allowed at any time to go and have contact with that agent or that player because the agent is direct contact with the player until you've spoken to the club, vice versa. But then he turns around and says, but we all know everyone does it, basically. So what I think might have happened is we've gone and spoke to the agent, even though technically that is tapping up speaking to the agent, even though everybody bloody does it. It's a rule they just need to get out of the way. And I reckon what's happened there is their chairman has just gone and played on that rule, basically, because it is a rule. But the other problem that's going to come with it is prove it. They're not going to be able to prove it. And I reckon he's just being salty because he's lost it. Whereas what happens?
What are they going to do? Get phone records, emails?
Exactly.
You know what
I mean? What they do exactly. So what they do with everyone else,
do you know what I mean?
Is they come in, they speak to the player's agent. You're not allowed to do it. It's illegal, right? But everybody knows everyone does it, and it's going to happen. So just let them get on with it at least. And I think that's just how most clubs take it. But I think he's just actually literally pulling the littlest string he can and being salty about it. So I reckon if you want to get technical, we've done this in an illegal manner. Why? Because there is no way we would have known about how that buyout clause was. The agent is not allowed to go and speak it out to any of them, but they come to the club and it works through there, whatever. I just don't know how this little rule, they just don't blow it out the window.
But Dan, do you know what I don't get about any of this?
The bloody agent, it's a bit crazy. But everybody does it,
right? Is exactly. It's like the unwritten. The rule is you can't do this, but yet there is not a single transfer where there is not contact first with the player via the agent. You know, you wouldn't ring up the player, you ring up the agent.
Very rarely.
Because you know, as I've always said, right? Like if I'm trying to buy Lubo for 60 million, I've heard he's a good ball playing centre half who can bring it out, and you know he's a good leader and a captain, aren't you, Lubo? If I'm trying to buy Lubo for 60 million pounds, right, and he plays for Marlon at Man United, Marlon's the chairman of Man United, right? By the way, Chelsea are...
You ain't getting Lubo, by the way.
Hang on, sorry, just quickly. Chelsea are 2-0 up against PSG. They are battering them. And Cole Palmer's just scored an absolute identical goal to the first goal. Palmer's playing off the right, cutting in on his left. They can't handle him. He is class. If I'm going to Marlon, right, and I go, hello, hello, Marlon at Man United. I really want your centre back. I want Lubo, your centre back. And I want 60 million. And then me and Marlon negotiating for days and days and this and that and the other. And I go, right, we've agreed the price. And then we turn around and go, right, Lubo, you're off to Savva at Tottenham. Lubo could turn around and go, no, I'm bloody not. No, I don't want to go and play for Savva at Tottenham. Why would I go there? So this is why players will have given their say so via their agent that, yeah, get me in negotiations. I'm open to the deal. And this is what makes me laugh, Dan, is not just that, but for this to get to the stage where a medical is agreed, the clubs have to sign off on it.
Exactly.
So Forest have signed off on him having a medical at Tottenham and then woken up the next day and gone, hang on, we're not happy with this. It just doesn't make sense.
It does make sense in its own way. I mean, it's like I said, I didn't even know until last that you weren't actually even allowed to go and speak to the agent as such. I thought you were. The way I always thought it worked was the way you're meant to do it is go to the club, tell the club this and that, and then work it from there. But I thought you was also allowed contact with the agent to get some details off the player of like, what are the chances, what would his wages be, this and that, give me an idea basically before you go to the club. And the fella said it clear as day yesterday, under no circumstances are you allowed or a replicant of your club to go and speak to their agent because he is direct contact with the player. And I'm like, and then he turns around and laughs, but he said to everyone, well, let's just not be naive though. Everybody does it. And you're like, so it's probably been done that way. And I think we've put the money on the table where they have to release the clause, whatever it is, I just look at it as though it's 60 million there and there. That's just random how I look at it.
Yeah.
As soon as we put that on the table, it doesn't matter whether they accept it or don't accept it. They can't not accept it, or we could literally just take him or walk away. They can't not accept it. And that's what's happened. And they just don't like it, the way that we basically just walked up and took him from right under them. And like I said, I just think it's their chairman just pulling that salty string, basically trying to. He's just got the that he's been mugged off, and basically that contract should have been sorted out by them. That he was.
But he's not being mugged off. Like, he's not being mugged off. Like he's got a 60 million release clause. The release clause has been paid. So if we're going to look at it in the cold light of day, he's not being mugged off in any way, shape, or form. He's got what was put in by whether it was him, whether he agreed it. I'm guessing he wouldn't because it was before him. But as a club, you've got to listen. I bet you any money, Daniel Levy, for as much as we talk about him, I bet you he knows every detail in every player's contract. I bet you that guy does not get mugged off on any contract whatsoever. So how have they been mugged off, Dan? I don't understand that they have. I think they
maybe it's but it's more the way that it's been done. We've literally just walked in and said thank you and walked off. We haven't even given them an option. They didn't have an option because if we hit the release clause there and then, they can't turn it down. So as soon as it's known that the release clause is there, the player can do as he wishes because they cannot turn it down. That is the contract. And the way we've gone and done it, last bit, the fact that they could have had 75 million off a City but turned it down because it wasn't that lump sum or whatever, that must have wound them up even a bit more. I think it's just the way Spurs have just, for once in their lives, actually just gone and done something in the market very ruthless. No remorse, no morals, and done it. Go on, mate, sorry.
But do you think if the Forest fans, like we said earlier, hadn't reacted the way they did, do you think any of this would have come into play? Do you think actually he would have just had the medical on Friday and that's it?
No, I still reckon their chairman, because he's known for being a little bit of a. He's known for being what he is.
But like Savva said,
I still reckon he'd have kicked up a stink about it. I still think he would have kicked up a stink about it.
But like Savva said, there's no way we could have booked in a medical, had everything accepted if Forest didn't know about it.
Well, as far as I know, again, I've done a bit of checking up on it and that. As soon as you put that 60 million down, say it's 60 million and he's yours. As soon as you put that 60 million on the table, it doesn't even really matter whether the club acknowledges or not. As long as it's in there willing to pay before you talk to him, they can't turn it down in any means or manner. They can't just ignore it for 3 or 4 days. We put the money down. There's his buyout clause. Thank you. You're coming with us. And they couldn't say yes. They couldn't say no. They couldn't do nothing. And I just think he's got the
Yeah, but there still needs to be some sort of. There must be some sort of something between Forest and Spurs, even if they're.
I would have thought so.
Yeah,
I would have
There
thought
has to
so.
be.
But from what I've
No.
read, I can only go
Yeah.
by what I read. It basically says you put that money down on the table to put in the bank. It doesn't matter what the team thinks. The team don't even have to accept it because the money is blatantly there. And if you can prove that the money was there or the deal was met, sort of thing, before you spoke to the player, you can just walk off with the player and do it. But then it does also say on there that they already spoke to each other and agreed as well, doesn't it?
Yeah,
So
that's the bit. That's the bit that's
I know.
confusing. Yeah, because they must.
that's the-
They must. Yeah,
I
because to book in that medical, there's no way both sets of. There's no way Forest wouldn't have known because obviously they would have expected him to be at training. So it's not a case of he's got to tell them, "Oh, I'm going for a medical at Spurs," because they've really. Like I'm assuming they've told him because there's still that contact between the agent, the player, and the club. So I'm
You'd
assuming, yeah, you'd expect something. But if they're putting down a £60 million bid, I'm expecting Forest to know about it.
I just can't. I agree. I mean, the point I was making for what I read is it doesn't. Forest can't not accept it.
They can't accept it. Yeah, they cannot.
Yeah. So as soon as the money's there, even if they ignore it and don't read it, Spurs can still take him off and do whatever they want with him because it's there. If they don't choose to,
Can I just say we are
3 days.
Can I just say, just quickly, when fans use the words tapping up, you do know we're using it all completely wrong. Tapping up isn't going to an agent and saying, "Hey, I'm interested in your player." Tapping up is bribes. Tapping up is offering something in exchange. Tapping up is Daniel Levy. Well, tapping up is Daniel Levy taking Morgan Gibbs-White agent for a meal. You can have the phone call with the agent, otherwise Angels wouldn't exist. So I think we've got to be very careful when we use the words tapping up. And Sky Andrews is a real fine one to talk. Sky Andrews has got a lot of form over decades of
Sol Campbell.
Right. So, but I mean, Alex, let me bring you in here. And then I'll bring Lubo in. I don't see that we've done anything wrong. This to me screams of Nottingham Forest being really, really gutted that somebody's come in and paid the release clause and that they probably didn't realise he was going to be this good. You know, when they put the 60 million release clause in a few years ago when he joined, that money, 60 million at the time, would have been huge. 4 or 5 years later, whatever we are into him being at Forest, it's not as big. So are they just a bit salty that we're taking one of their best players for the price they set?
There's not really much I can say on this because I think everybody's covered what I've already said.
Okay, moving on then.
Because yeah, Savva, because you said it yourself. It's very, very, very salty, and really they should have done. I mean, any club that have got a player that's really on top form over the last few years, and they've got a release clause that they're sitting there thinking, "Oh, this could be triggered," in the summer. You know what I mean? You would renegotiate that contract very, very quickly, and try and make sure that that your interests are in that player is still, in your interest still. You know what I mean? And Nottingham Forest have kind of really, I can't think of the pun. They've kind of messed themselves up on this one, unfortunately, and I can't really feel sorry for them.
Okay.
I don't feel sorry for the chairman. Because I think he's one of those ones that sulks when things don't go well for him. You know what I mean? So, from what we've seen in the press and stuff. So, and I do feel that Nottingham Forest are getting a bit worried at the moment because, he was one of their best players last season. Alanga's gone. So now they're going to have to figure out a way to replace him, don't they? Really? So they are going to be a bit, they're going to be a bit fussy about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think I think there is a few issues with him and the manager as well. To be honest with you, but after what we saw last season, I know he signed a new contract, but I don't think he's going to be pretty pleased that he's lost his midfielder. I don't think he would have said, "Oh yeah, I don't really mind." Gibbs-White to just leave like that.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? I think it just needs him a lurch.
Look, I mean, Luba, let me ask you, last bit on the Morgan Gibbs-White situation. But what makes me laugh about this is, have you ever heard anything so ridiculous about a secret release clause? Like, isn't the whole point of a release clause that people know, well, if you want this product, this is what you have to pay?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that the point of the release clause? A secret release clause doesn't really mean anything, does it?
A confidential one. What's that about?
It doesn't mean, like,
If a club comes in and asks, if Spurs have gone in and asked Forest, is there a release clause? Forest have got to tell them. Otherwise, if Spurs went in and paid 70 million and it came out afterwards, which I'm sure the agents wouldn't allow, but if it came out afterwards that they paid 10 million more than the release clause, then surely Forest can be done for non-disclosure.
yeah.
So
are they annoyed that we didn't ask the question? Are they? Is what this is that when we went in, instead of going, there's 60 million, we're paying it over these terms because we know that's the release clause. If they had gone and said, hey, we want Morgan Gibbs-White, what's the release clause, please? Right? They would have had to have said X, Y, Z, and we could have turned around and gone, deal.
It's the fact that we knew it before we went in there. So basically, we went to the agent, which you are not allowed to do, and the agent has turned back. Or what I could actually believe is that the agent actually came, that Morgan Freeman White, the World Cup's coming next year. Spurs look like there might be a change there. We're in the Champions League at least. He wants to get noticed that much more. Has he thought about, right, how do I get into a Champions League team? If I go and play with City, I'm going to have to work hard, but am I going to see that first team? There's better players than me there. If I go to Spurs, I'm in that first team. I'm in that Champions League, got the World Cup coming up. Maybe they ain't going to do as bad, whatever. And he's actually gone and said to his agent, go and tell him and get me out of here. I don't know. There's lots of stories you can go with it. But the fact that we knew it before we went there, I think that's the bit that's proper gotten, because technically it's illegal what we've done. Because how did we already know it?
Dan,
it's all if.
Hey, Brendan Johnson might know. But, Morgan White, you could have told Brendan.
It's just Forest being so. Dan,
and I don't want to make it like this. I don't want, because I'm not that guy. Yeah, I'm not that guy. Right? That we're talking.
Don't be it then.
Yeah. But well, yeah, okay, you can try that one. But it is because it's Spurs, because we finished 17th, right? Forest can't take it, right? Because if it was like Man City, and this is where I believe it's Spurs this time round, yeah. If you were like in Forest's position, right, and Forest gone up to you and said, and they were in our position, right, or like maybe a
3-0 Chelsea, by the way.
3-0.
Sorry, 3-0 Chelsea are battering PSG, battering them.
I'm just thinking of a team that, but if it was Forest in the other way around, okay, and they were like 18th, 17th, and they just won the Europa League, right, and we were like third or whatever, right, and then they rocked up to our team and got one of our star players, right, and we had a release clause and we activated a release clause and stuff like that. They'll think, what, Forest? What's that all about? You know what I mean? You finished 17th. You know what I mean? So I think it's about that, really. I think that's about that, because let's be honest here, the two teams have really underachieved, right, over the last how many years? You know what I mean? Regardless what people say, they've underachieved, both of them. Underachieved, right? Okay? More Tottenham than Forest, because Forest have just come up.
Hang on. How are Forest underachieved?
Well, no, both teams haven't really achieved, from what they were before, right, in the past. What I mean, in the past, like Forest were like European champion. Was it in Europe or something like that?
Yeah, but now you sound like my man Wolfie. Forest were European champions. I think before I was bloody born. You know what I mean? Like,
no. I'm just saying. I'm saying when they were great back.
Was it
back
to back with them and all, wasn't it?
Forest have not been Forest since Clough's gone.
Yeah, no. But the point I'm making is though, right? The example I'm trying to say at the moment, it is about the whole thing about standing at the moment, right? Spurs, right? Yeah, they've won Europa League, but they were 17th, right? They've really underachieved, really, okay, over the years, right? Like everyone knows. I don't want to repeat it, but everyone knows that, yeah. Nottingham Forest have done what they've done this season, yeah, really had a good season, even though it fell away, right? They're looking at it and thinking, why is Spurs taking one of our best players for, right? If it was like a Man City, if this was a Liverpool, if this was an Arsenal, if it was like a Chelsea, there wouldn't be an issue. There would not be an issue whatsoever.
Yeah, but
You know what I mean?
but you've also asked the
And
question
again,
of why
I
does
don't
Wolves
want to be
want
that
join
guy.
us?
It isn't about me because I'm feeling done by Spurs. No, because
The issue is, Alex, the issue is that the Forest chairman's not been in control.
that's the thing.
I think that's the crux to the whole thing.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, though, Lubo, it is still about the whole thing about Tottenham, though, because
I think it's got a bit of everything in it.
It's a bit of it is about the thing with Tottenham as well. I'm not saying you're wrong about the chairman not having the control, because I mentioned that. That's why I said to Savva's question, I wasn't trying to mug him off, right? What I'm saying is, right, is that when everyone said what need to be said anyway about the situation, but there is a bit of a situation where it is just Tottenham. You know what I mean? Because how we finished last season. You know what I mean?
Can I ask? Sorry, Luke. Go on.
I'll just say a couple of things. First, funny enough, I've just seen the comments on Sky Andrews. I mean, just sort of drift back very quickly to Sol Campbell. A customer of mine told me that he saw Campbell walking into Arsene Wenger's house the day of the Monaco Grand Prix, which was 5 weeks before he was announced as an Arsenal player. Now, I don't think that he should have been speaking with Arsenal before his contract ran out on June the 30th. So, as you said, it was pot calling and the kettle black and all that. In terms of the release clause, I saw a comment on here that it runs out tomorrow. Well, if Spurs have actually triggered that release clause and it's been put in writing, and it's been put in writing, then the release clause has been triggered prior to the expiry date. And am I right in assuming have Spurs paid the money? If Spurs have paid the money, I presume it's been paid into a solicitor's escrow account.
They would have had to
be relieved subject to Gibbs-White passing the medical.
Right.
So I presume that's where we're up to.
Yeah, we'd have had to be able to speak to them basically. And the question is on it that their chairman's got the ump about is technically we should not have known about this until we went to Forest, because by law, even though we know that's just crap and everyone does it, we're not actually allowed to go to the agent and ask the agent for info or the player. Yep. So we should have been going there and getting that. But the fact we already know about it, we know there's been some tapping up in there, whatever. It's the phrase they use. And it's just, but like even the agent said it is what it is. It's how it happens. It's how it's done. He's just got the ump, that chairman, because he knows what's happened. He's got no control over it whatsoever. But if you want to go by the law and the everything, we should not have known about that until we spoke to Forest. But everybody does it.
Can I just clear something up? Big up to Nige, yeah? I ain't saying nothing about who's big and whatever. I was just trying to say an example, right? I was just doing the example of the whole thing of not an voice of an achievement. And the thing is, they've done well this season, and they're looking at Tottenham and thinking, wait a minute, why are you taking our player for? You know what I mean? You finished 17th. You get what I'm saying? So I'm like, that's what I'm saying. People can get salty. That's the whole point. You know what I mean? I'm just saying the chairman's getting a bit salty. It's cool. I'm not getting into the whole thing who's bigger.
Just like if you say Archie Gray's name 3 times, Lubo appears. If you talk about Nottingham Forest and Marinakis, Wolfie appears. Thanks for joining, Wolfie. You could be our special guest this week.
How long have you been? I just saw Chelsea score the third. I was like, I'm turning it off and turned on you, and you're chatting Forest, man.
Yeah. Thank you. I've fallen second to Chelsea. That's fine. Wolfie, I seem to remember us having a conversation months ago where I said, you're probably going to lose your best players in the summer, and you assured me no one was leaving. But hey, we'll get back to that in a minute. That's just me point scoring. Talk to me. You said in the chat just now, Savva, you're missing the point. What point are us Spurs fans missing? What's gone on from a Nottingham Forest fan point of view?
So the point isn't about tapping players up, because that happens Transfer window in, transfer window out. In fact, I would say Forest are the only ones dumb enough to speak to the clubs before they speak to the players. Because most times you won't see a player reject because they've already had the conversation. If a player is rejecting you, you don't waste your time going to the club. That's not the point, though. That's not the tapping up point. The point is the bid and the conditions that Spurs put in were the exact ones of this release clause, which is under NDA, confidentiality agreement, and what have you. So it can't just be a guess that Levy just got lucky, or Levy and Marinakis.
The fact that we tapped him up and went to the agent and we knew about it.
We've not tapped him up. We've not tapped him up.
Oh, okay, it's a figure of speech. It's what they say when you go speak to the agent.
That's not a figure of speech. That's a term. It's not a figure of speech.
Fine.
Man.
We went and spoke to the agent. Okay, we went and spoke to the agent when we're legally not allowed to, and we do everything.
Speaking to the agent isn't the issue. If you'd gone to the agent and asked him, is Gibbs-White interested in joining Spurs? And he's like, yeah, this is our terms. We want X amount per week and what have you. That's the normal conversation. It's the additional bit. Now, we don't know who said what. This is still all speculation. It could have been Spurs asking the agent, is there a release fee clause? It could be the agent saying, bid this amount of money and you'll get Gibbs-White because there's a release fee clause. Where it gets clouded is because Man City was sniffing around him at the start of the window, and they were talking in the 70s. So what the grievance is with Marinakis is that had this confidential release clause not been exchanged by whoever between Spurs and the agent, or even Gibbs-White, he's probably not innocent in this, then Spurs could potentially have come in at 70. That's the whole point here. So Forest feel
you realise
like
you just said that to a room of Spurs fans that you think we would have gone in at 70 million for anybody as a first payment. No, I understand, but surely Wolfie would go on, Lubo. Go on, Lubo.
Wolfie, if City have offered 75, if that had been accepted, then aren't Forest guilty of non-disclosure of a release clause figure?
No, why would they be?
I don't think they're obliged to tell them.
They're not obliged to be. If it's under NDA, it's an NDA between the club and the player and the agent.
So at what point then do they have to disclose the release clause if it's under NDA?
Why would they need to disclose it? At what point would they need to?
What's the point of having a release
clause? Why would you have a release clause that you don't have to disclose?
Because think about it logically, right? If Spurs had come in with 55 mil, Forest could reject that. If Spurs come in with, say, 62 mil, then because that's above the minimum release clause, Forest would be obliged to accept it. That's what the release clause is.
It depends on how the payment is, doesn't it? If the payment says, right, we want 60 million there and then, that's the release clause. If City come in and say, right, we give you 75 million, we give you 55 million now and 15 million over time or whatever, you don't have to accept that because it's not the 60 million on the table.
Exactly.
You only have to accept it when it's that. So you blew City out because they obviously didn't offer the amount that was wanted.
City didn't make a bid. City didn't make a bid.
Okay, they spoke about it then, yeah? Or they spoke about it. Forest could have told them about the glitch in it, basically, and then gone and told them, if you want it, you're going to have to do 60 million on the table. And maybe City just said, we don't want to do 60 million on the table. We'll give you 50 million and this, you turn it down. Spurs go in there, speak to the agent first or whoever first. They already know about it and go in and say, there you go, thank you. And it's just pissed people off.
But where they're hearing about it is
because the agent's bloody told them, because they've gone and spoke to the agent. He's just give them all the information.
Yeah, but hang on. Hold on. What are you missing? If Spurs have requested the information, knowing that it's under NDA, then Spurs are in breach of all kinds of practices. That's the point.
Hang on. So
who told who?
Hang on. We've got to bring this back to some sort of sensible conversation here. So what we're saying is we're living in a world now where a player can have a release clause, but have it non-disclosure, that his club doesn't have to disclose that. So if Tottenham rock up to Nottingham Forest and say, we want Morgan Gibbs-White, what's the release clause? That Forest don't have to tell Spurs what it is.
Correct. Because Spurs aren't signed under the NDA. Why would they need to disclose it?
So why have a release clause on a player that you don't want anyone to know about?
If you bid above the release clause, then you cannot reject that bid. That's the point.
Okay, Okay, so let me ask you a question.
City, so when Man City was saying 70 mil, let's say they came in with 65. If Forest were to reject that 65, that would be a breach of that release clause.
Of course.
Not necessarily.
But, no, of course, necessarily. If they reject a bid at 65 and the release clause is at 60, and that was to then be found out they did that, they would be in breach of contract. Yes,
but it depends what the release clause says. If the release clause says 60 million and we can accept it in 3 payments, then fine.
Yeah,
if the release clause says 60 million on the table,
but you're getting into
then
the semantics of it because we don't know. We don't.
Yeah,
know.
but that's what I'm saying. That's what it could all be about, basically. So
I agree, but I'm just saying for
75,
simplicity,
you ain't got to accept it.
If we just do the number, because otherwise we're just going to add, but what if this payment, and because I'm even hearing there was a sunset clause on it on the 14th. I heard as well that the sunrise on the clause was the 1st of July, so there's a 14-day window. 1st to the 14th.
So with that, then Wolfie, that's tomorrow, right? So the 14th. So this is going to be really interesting when they go, right, let's drag this out for a few days. Cool. If you want him now, there's no release clause.
Exactly.
You're going to have to pay 70, 75 million. It's absolutely mental. So let me ask you a question. I can see it happening,
stuff. Go on.
What? So let's put aside for a second that Spurs knew what the clause was.
Yeah.
What is it that Marinakis is upset about? Because you've got that figure. Like, you've got the £60 million from Tottenham Hotspur, whether it's in one payment up front, whether it's 2 30 million payments over a year. I don't know what it is. We don't know. As football fans, we shouldn't really give a shit, right?
Yeah.
But what is the problem? Most of your fan base are telling me he's not as good as you think we think anyway. Apparently, he's all tricks and flicks that don't work. You've got the release clause that the club put into the contract. So is this a pride thing now that you should have put in a bigger release clause? Or is it purely that they're annoyed that we knew what it was? Because either way, does it matter?
I'll be like, this is my opinion based on nothing but my opinion. I don't think certain people in the club knew that 60 million was in the release clause, because the team that put that contract together in the first place 3 years ago, whenever it was, no longer there. So I think this has come as a sudden, what? I think Marinakis thinks that Morgan Gibbs-White is worth at least 70, 75 mil, maybe more. Who knows what he thinks? But what I feel from the reaction from the Forest hierarchy is they would not have expected to sell one of their prize assets, the poster boy, for 60 million and have this release clause in, with the thought process that the total Morgan Gibbs-White package could have been 42 mil from Wolves. So you're looking at a cash flow profit of 18 million. I think that's where the annoyance starts from.
Right.
That's kind of the trigger point. And that is stupidity from Forest Park, because I get that. A lot of fans are kicking off saying, why would they have put a 60 million release clause in Gibbs-White in the first place? Well, you got to remember, when we signed Gibbs-White, we just come out of the championship, we had 3 or 4 bids rejected from Wolves. So you knew it was going to be a big one with add-ons and all this.
Yeah.
The real question should be, why didn't they renegotiate the contract 18 months later, 2 years later, and remove the release clause? If
that's nothing new. That's nothing new, though, because the thing is that we've mentioned that already. You know what I mean? I think it's like I said. You just said it yourself. Like the whole thing with the contract. The whole thing with him. Any decent club would, if a guy's having a good season, like I said with Burval, which I don't even rate right now, but he was okay last season, right?
Yeah.
Tottenham Hotspur put a new contract on the table for him, because I knew straight away that if he has a good season next season, look who's going to be going up for him. You know what I mean? Exactly. So that's just been clever. Adoji, same thing. Like first season with Postecoglou, right? As a good decent season, they're thinking, okay, right, he's getting interested. Oh, put 5 years on the contract straight away. You know what I mean? No one can go for him after how many years? You know what I mean? Brighton do it for every single time with a player that's at the top. You know what I mean? It's a standard thing. It's a standard.
One quick thing. Are you actually sorry? I've just got this on my head here. Yeah, I might be wrong here, but are you actually basically saying from what you're saying, where this was done before the new owners come in and everything, that the thing that could have really pissed the Forest lot off is that they didn't even know about the buyout clause and Spurs just come in and did it, and Forest didn't even know the player had a
No. It's not Nunes. There was a recruitment team doing it. Whether or not they were responsible for the contract, I don't know. Whether or not it was missed by Marinakis, I don't know. But what I feel personally is that, I mean, he's Mediterranean, man, like me and stuff, isn't it? He's got a temper on him. When he finds something out, he's gonna start, smashing glasses. And
it was just a question, that's all.
So I don't think that's necessarily it. But what I will say is, I have my annoyances with Forest about this. I don't mind Gibbs-White leaving. Savva will tell you, banter aside, when we were doing other shows and Man City were in, I was like, good, give me 70 million, he can go. I've got no problems with it. But my annoyances from both sides is like, if this has happened, all Spurs had to do was just approach Forest in the first place and say, oh, by the way, we've spoken to Gibbs-White, he wants to come, let's talk fees. Yeah, and do it that way, and none of this charades would happen. I'd rather he goes sooner than later, so we can move on and sort our own recruitment issues out. But Forest have dropped the ball on this if they put the 60 million release fee clause in there.
So do you think if Levy, I'm saying Levy, we're so used to it. If Levy, or according to Lubo Vinay, who does all the deals now, if we had rocked up to Forest on, when was this, Thursday, right, and said, we want to buy Morgan Gibbs-White, there's 55 million, right? And you guys had gone, no, it's not enough. And we come back in a day or two later and gone, all right, 60 million, that you guys would have gone, oh, shit, that's the magic number. Off to Tottenham you go.
I think what would have happened in that scenario, no, but what you see a lot of with release clauses is that, I think you guys were talking about this before I came on, if the release clause is 60 mil, but it's all cash up front, a lot of clubs will say, all right, let's do 65, 70 over 4 years or 3 years or whatever. That way your cash flow isn't as affected. Forest can hold the 65 million against a bank loan and we would still get the whole money, etc. That's where it would have just naturally progressed to. Now it's freaking, throwing toys out the pram from both sides. I still think he goes. I think it will end up in exactly what I just said there, because probably the terms, unless Forest are really stupid, would be 60 is a full cash up front thing, and it'll end up being like 65 add-ons or something and split over 3 or 4 years.
So you still think it gets done, but you think Tottenham are going to have to?
He's not going to come back, bro.
Money. A little bit of hush money.
Yeah, exactly. A few brown envelopes.
Isn't that even more scandalous than this? The fact that we could cover up all of this NDA stuff by going, have 5 million and have an extra 5 million. Just don't say anything. Don't tell us off.
Bro, that would be like the least scandalous thing happening in football right now, with all the other crap that goes on.
Levy wouldn't do that. Levy's more the type to say, do you know what? Shut up. You ain't having your 5 million. We've put in that bid for him. We can take it.
But he's not in charge anymore.
Oh, of course not. For this sort of thing, Savva, you want Savva, you want Levy in charge for this. This is Levy at his prime. This is Levy at what he is the dog's bollocks at, basically. Levy is going to sit there, in opinion from how I've seen him work on 25 years, and say, you ain't getting 5 million extra. Take us to court. Prove that we tapped that player up.
No, you're missing the argument. That's not the argument now. The argument is if the 60 million is cash up front, that's the point here. It will get settled at 65 or 60 plus 10 add-ons or something. That's my point. It's not a case of whatever's triggered it. If the trigger is 60 million and the payment terms over 3 years, then it probably still gets done and there's just animosity between the two clubs. My point here is a lot of these release clauses are cash up front release clauses. We just saw it. Sometimes they'll put like a payment structure in it. I think they've talked about Eze with his release clause, 2020 plus the rest. You saw Cunha in a similar situation. They publicly announced those clauses that they want because they knew he was going to go to Man U. I'm just saying it's very rare that it's here's the release clause and you can pay us a few IOUs over the next few years. That's why I think it will end up being 60 plus.
I can ask, what does how did we get into a medical? We gave you 5 million, right? If we give you 5 million extra tomorrow, right? What is the 5 million for? Like what? We've triggered the release clause, so you've got the fee that he's worth. what is the 5 million in essence? Does everyone see what I'm saying? What is
Yeah. And
what is
Levy
the
wouldn't
5
put
million
up with
for?
that.
The
Levy ain't
5
doing
million
that.
saves you 40 million this year, because I reckon the 60 would be split over 3, so 20, 20,
Okay,
20.
so we're saying it changes the
Yeah.
payment. So we'll give you
It's the
65
payment process.
over 3 years rather than 60 million over 2 years or
And
something.
also, Marinakis would walk away feeling like he won something, you know, that he can walk away with well,
You've
I
got the
got
Greek
something
Daniel
out of it.
Levy. You've got the
I
Greek
get that.
Daniel Levy over there.
Trav,
Yeah, but my guy puts his
Yeah.
hands in his pockets, Sav.
they would have looked, Spurs would have looked at, I'm sure Spurs lawyers would have seen the player's contract, looked at it and said, if Spurs have done nothing wrong, they've triggered the release clause, they've triggered it in time, they've done nothing wrong, except they've not spoken to the player hasn't told him directly that there's a 60 million release clause. There's, why would Spurs give 5 million just for
Exactly.
I think
Especially
it's
Daniel Levy of all people. Are you telling me that Daniel Levy's going to go, do you know what?
whoever
There's
it
5
is?
million, mate. Just shut. Levy ain't doing that.
Again, you're
But we're talking about
sidestepping-
Levy.
You're
Whoever it is,
sidestepping the hypothetical. The hypothetical we're talking about is the 60 million being cash up front, which you won't do. Levy ain't going to put 60
But
million
then how
up
did
front.
we get him in a medical then? How did we get him
He hasn't had
to
his medical.
register a medical?
He hasn't had his
no,
medical.
but we
Hang on,
already had
there's-
it set up the next day
There's a lot of
for his
reports
medical.
that he has. There's a lot of reports that he has had the medical and
So,
done his media shoot. You know, the whole
yeah.
little video like Star
when
Boy.
those reports were coming out, I was seeing pictures of him in a Nando's or something in the middle of Nottingham. So it's like it's all just conjecture right now.
Listen,
I still think
Wolfie,
it happens.
if
Fair
you
enough.
did a medical, the first thing you'd want to do is go and have some chicken afterwards as well, mate. So you've got to.
Bro, if I did a
Pinch yourself,
medical,
mate.
first thing I'd be doing is going to hospital after it, man.
Yeah.
I
I
think
find
interesting.
all this funny. Go on, Alex.
It'd be interesting because I shouldn't really mention it, but he has got his other half has got a YouTube channel from what I saw. And by the way, I've got no interest in it. It's just I just saw something. and
Liar.
I know.
Alex, if you're
that it's hard-
subscribed to her YouTube channel, no one's going to judge you.
No,
You
I,
don't know
know,
what it's
I
about.
haven't, but I saw it on YouTube.
Oh, you're
I
talking
saw,
about Morgan Gibbs-White. I thought you were talking about me. I was like, has she?
no, Wolfie, I wouldn't be interested.
I was like,
I
when?
wouldn't be interested in you, mate, because you don't invite me on your channel, so I wouldn't be interested. But my point is, though, but the point is, though, yeah, is that Morgan White would be Morgan White has got his wife's got a YouTube channel, so it'll be
I'm
interesting
going to find
see,
it now.
Would be interested to
It's
see
the TikTok
whether
channel.
there's a YouTube about this or a video on this, definitely, because I know she does a lot of videos, I think, or something
She's
like
on
that.
TikTok. Her name's
Sidetrack, sorry, that's it.
It starts with a
Sheena
B. I
Nirvana.
forgot her name. No. It's not Britney.
No? Oh,
His
Brittany
missus.
De Veers.
That's it. Yeah.
Brittany De Veers. Who
She's
is
on
Brittany De
TikTok.
Veers? Well, anyway, she's pregnant. We know that much. And
Second.
well, I
kid.
tell you that because I saw something yesterday. Someone said there's a picture of him in Nottingham, but he is with his pregnant other half. So it's like, yeah, fair enough. But listen, whether he's done that or not, Lubo is absolutely spot on. And Lubo, you are right, because it doesn't matter whether it's Vinay, Levy, it doesn't matter whether it's any chairman. They would have looked at that contract. Surely Tottenham are that professional and are that well versed in how we act. We would have looked at the contract and gone, yeah, it's cool. We can get, like, Gibbs-White's got access to the contract, right? His agent's got access to the contract. Like, who here doesn't have access to the contract for the company they work for?
I lost mine about 10 years ago, bro. I'm not gonna
I
lie.
lost mine, but right, you know, you haven't got a 60 million release clause, mate.
No, but when you
I
start,
wish,
when you
man.
start the job, when you start a job, before you start the job, they send you a contract to look through and you sign it and then you start.
Cool.
So whatever job it is.
And if you lose it, you email
Yeah,
it.
but within, hold on. No, because I deal with NDAs in my job. NDAs aren't part of my contract. NDAs are part of projects, for example. So I sometimes have to sign an NDA if I'm dealing with an external company as well, and they have to sign the NDA. And there are legal ramifications to the NDAs. Like, if someone accidentally sends an email about the NDA project and it goes to even someone internally, there's shit to pay. So just because the contract is the contract, this is about a confidentiality agreement on the release clause. That's the point here. So the Spurs lawyers looking at the terms of this release clause would be illegal. That as a legal rep, they shouldn't be doing that, and I don't think they would be.
But who's going to have a bloody buyout clause that nobody's allowed to see or hear of? It makes no logical sense.
Point. It's like, when you buy something on eBay.
No, I get what you're saying, but it just makes no logical sense that someone would have that sort of buyout clause. The buyout clause is there so that you can get bought out when a bigger club or someone comes for you. I totally get what you're saying on how it works.
Anything.
It's like if we're doing a film. You have to write a contract on there that if you say a single word is going on in that film or that game or this or that, you're done. You're in big trouble, yeah? That is what it means, basically. Keep your mouth shut. Like when you come out of court sometimes, you're not allowed to say a word about anything, otherwise you will get done. Why would anybody have a buyout clause that nobody is allowed to know about? To me, that just makes no logical sense.
But Wolfie's already kind of said that it's not the fact that it's the buyout clause, it's the fact of the terms. The terms that Spurs put across. I get all that. But no one should. But why? How did Spurs know those terms?
No, I know that.
Question. Because we could bid 60 million. Yeah, we could bid 60 million.
Why would someone have that?
That's the question.
It doesn't matter why or why not they have it. It doesn't matter because
I'm asking a question. Why would they have?
Yeah,
that?
because it's a contract. As long as both sides agreed to the contract. How many players have we seen where they have a release clause that only triggers between June and July of the summer of 2023, and then it expires? Like, what's the point in that? Yeah. Are they only worth that value in that window? As long as both parties agree to whatever term is in that contract. It's not for me or you to say why is it in there. The fact is, it's in there.
Well, I can ask a question to it, and the fact
is, the answer is because both sides.
Would anyone have a contract that nobody is to know about it? Now, if it's between July and August that it comes out, then fine. Then everybody gets to know about it in that time that the player wants to know about it or whatever else. But if you've got this release clause that nobody is ever allowed to know about, I just can't understand. I can understand a club doing that, but I just can't understand a player or an agent. Like, why would I even have a release clause that I'm never allowed to tell anybody and no one's ever allowed to know?
Yeah, no, because there's still a benefit for the player. There's still a benefit for the player. Because if, let's say, Morgan Gibbs-White is the example, if Forest feel that he now is worth £100 million, let's just say, for argument's sake, right? He knows he's protected if any club comes in over 60 million. He may think I'm not worth £100 million, I'm worth £70 million, right? As long as that club meets that threshold, then legally Forest would have to accept that offer. Now, it doesn't have to be to the penny.
But we did.
But this is the argument.
We did meet that threshold.
Yeah, but you met the exact threshold with the exact payment conditions.
But why do Wolves care? My question still goes back to this, right? Maybe I'm living in a simplistic world. Why do Forest care? If we hit it, we hit it.
If we in circles. Like, okay,
I know, but it doesn't.
I'll tell you what. The simple answer.
Can I just add to that? Maybe Spurs did offer 60. Solanke was around 60. Ndombele was just short of 60. Kudus was just short of 60. We don't go over 60. Maybe they did offer 60.
Yeah, but us saying it's 60 doesn't mean it's 6. It could be 60 and £4.37, and that's where the discrepancy happens.
So basically, when nobody gets to know about it, I'm just trying to translate this for myself here because I must admit this one I just find bloody weird. So we've got this buyout clause, but nobody is ever to know about it. But if the club hits that exact buyout clause, either way, whatever it is, but I don't have to tell no one because it's private. I'm not allowed to tell no one because it's private. The club ain't obliged to tell Tottenham who are coming in for him. So basically, we sit there, and unless Tottenham guess or whoever that exact number and the exact way to do it on the buyout, Forest don't have to accept it. So Forest can sit
No,
there and
you know
shut up.
that's where you've stumbled there. That's the point
Right.
you're missing.
So,
If it's above
so interpret
that
it for me.
number,
I'm actually asking a question.
okay, I've said it though. If it's above that number, then they've already triggered the minimum clause. That's the point here. And to answer Savva's question with it, why do Forest care? Because Man City were talking about 70 to 75. That's the thing now. Now imagine
But
this
didn't
deal.
it?
Okay, but someone else could have come in, or Man City may have come in at 70. Now, Forest's grievance now would be that if this clause, because I don't know if this sunset is on it or not, it's just what I heard, right? But if this clause stands now in the contract, and let's say it falls through between Forest and Spurs, now it's out there that any club that wants him can pay this £60 million, where Forest still valued him at 70, for example. That's why Forest care. That's the
So
point
this
here.
this is all in the hope that whoever comes in at 70, for example, just using that number as a baseline. Is it okay?
Yeah.
But again, this is not me saying I know this definite, and get something for the panel to discuss. If somebody comes in at 70, aren't Forest obliged to say, well, hang on, it's 60 million, or they can just take the 70, right?
They take the 70, yeah.
They take the 70. Okay.
Yeah.
So if it's 60 million and £10, right?
Yeah.
If Spurs bid 60 million and £10 exactly, it would be like, you know
Exactly. Exactly.
But if Spurs had gone down the rig, this is what I don't get, right? If Spurs had gone through the rigmarole, even let's say we knew, let's say Gibbs-White agent has turned around and gone, right, Spurs, he wants to come to you, but it's 60 million and £10. By the way, everyone in the chat, I don't know. We're just hypothetical, right? Rather than Spurs playing the game and going in and going 55, and then you guys taking a couple of days to come back and go, nah, we're rejecting it. All right. It's 57. Nah, we're rejecting. Rather than all that, aren't you just happy that the money's being paid? Like, I'm just confused. Your fans don't seem to want him, right? The club valued him at 60. We've offered at 60 and we do want him. This just feels like a whole lot of rigmarole for nothing.
Yeah, but it comes back to the point that Forest value him more than 60. And I am certain in my I am certain in my opinion that the people in charge now were either forgot about the 60 million release clause that was inserted in there 3 years ago,
So they didn't know about it.
Or didn't
That's
know
what
about
I said
it
earlier.
Yeah. So it's going to be, and that's, like I said earlier, that would be stupidity from Forest and a frustration from me from Forest. The point is, when we're making it simplistic, saying, okay, 60 million plus £10, I think for me, again, I know nothing on this, but I think it's the terms of the structure of the payment. So it was, here's your offer, Forest, 60 million and £10. We're going to pay you 28 million and a half in year one, and then 32 million and a half in year, something like that. Because there would have to be enough of that to trigger it. And why have Forest pushed this forward? Because there's precedent for it. We saw it last year with Elise and Chelsea. So there's similar scenarios.
Isn't this the point? If there is an NDA, right, and what makes I keep saying this, what makes me laugh is it got to medical state. It got to a medical being booked, which means both clubs would have had to sign off on the medical, right? Then the next day it comes. Yes, right. But this is a great point. We're talking here like all of these ITKs, who was the first? It was Mike McGrath, wasn't it, at the Telegraph? He was the first one that said Spurs have triggered the release clause. So if Forest didn't know, right, and it was so secretive, how did all these reporters know, or as Gibbs-White said, Gibbs-White and his agent leaked that as well?
Yeah, agents are chatty, man. It's been a fascinating. I'll tell you what, Sav. Right, this summer I've been speaking to quite a few of them. My God, will they tell you anything you ask them? Right, so agents are definitely the source of this information. It's just I would say we keep having to say hopefully everyone can just assume everything we're saying is speculation because we don't know for sure. But I think the question is probably come from the agent, maybe with Gibbs-White's blessing, because it's his future he's talking about. I think the question is, what did Spurs say if the agent approached it that way? Do you know what I mean? Like, did Spurs say, look, if this is an NDA, we're not touching it, or was there that conversation? That's where the sticky point is. Yes, mate.
What if Spurs offered 60 and were then told, by the way, you've now triggered the release clause, you can carry the, you know, you will get the player. Because we don't offer more than 60 for anybody, let me tell you.
Yeah. Can you do 65 for Solanke?
Well,
no,
with add-ons,
57.
including add-ons.
57.
Including add-ons. So,
Plus some change, isn't he? The add-ons on that or just straight 57?
Yeah, no, it was 57 plus add-ons.
Yeah. Again, we're just speculating here, boys. Like, at the end of the day, it's all going to come out. I still think it goes through. I think that the Forest feel they have strength because of the Elise case from last year. If you remember how that one played out. No, I'm saying on press. Oh, you say, oh,
not you.
Comment.
No,
okay.
not you. The comment.
I'm saying the Elise case gives precedent on it because suddenly Chelsea backs off, and 5 minutes later, Elise signed a new contract, and then 10 minutes later, he was off to Bayern. So that one did actually fall through. That's the thing here. And it depends. Do Forest go to the Premier League about it, put an official complaint, or more likely, do they just sort it out between Marinakis and Levy and just make everyone's life easier? We don't want him. Well, I say we, I'm talking for me. He's a snake to me now. And he can go.
Yeah.
It's just,
I mean,
it's just weird how all this has gone on, isn't it? It's just weird.
I mean, listen, Marlon had a theory. What was your theory as to why it's still him, Marlon? What was your theory?
What, the one where they're looking for another? Yeah, where they're looking for another player and they don't want to be.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. I think there's legs in that, but I would add more to save face. That Forest don't want to just suddenly, because it was in the space of 2-3 hours. It went from Spurs are linked to here we go in 2-3 hours. And for me, that probably didn't sit right with Marinakis saying, you know, I'll post a boy on the front cover of all our magazines and what have you. And suddenly he's already down in London. I think there's a bit of pride involved when it comes to Marinakis and these things. And it does buy Forest time to replace. But having said that, we didn't do that with Elanga. We sold Elanga before we bought his replacement. So I don't know. Sometimes I can't do mad stuff.
Isn't it weird that, like, wasn't it the same day, Wolf, if I'm not wrong? I'm pretty sure it was the same day that we got the here we go for Gibbs-White, that we then started seeing that you guys have had a big turn down the same day for Wissa of Brentford.
Yeah, spin.
So is this just a case of you're like, shit, we can get more money out of Spurs because we're going to have to start bidding for more players and we're getting turned down? It all feels very... I don't know, man. I don't trust you.
There's a lot of dark arts.
Do you like your owner?
I love him.
Do you not care that everyone like now hates Forest is slowly becoming this pantomime villain, aren't they?
Yeah, but on what grounds? Because a lot of people are blaming us.
Gary Neville, Crystal Palace, the nonsense on the pitch, now Tottenham Hotspur. It feels like he's got ag with everyone.
What have Forest done to kick Crystal Palace out of the Europa?
Didn't your owner complain?
No.
Grassed them up, basically.
He didn't grass them up. He sent UEFA a letter asking what the situation was.
Basically telling them. Basically grassed them up. Come on.
Wait. So are you telling me UEFA is so incompetent that unless Forest had sent a letter in, they wouldn't have looked into the multi-club ownership with Leon?
I wouldn't put it past them. I would not put it past that.
No, now you're stretching because they were already looking at them.
Opinion.
But they were already looking at them.
But what has Palace got to do with you lot? What business did Marinakis have right in that letter? What has it got to do with you lot? You didn't qualify for the Europa League through winning a cup or through league position. So where does your owner get off on thinking, you're that person that writes a letter to a company? You know, you open a can of baked beans and there's 10 less than normal. You know, dear Heinz, really unhappy. There wasn't my normal volume of beans in this tin. You're that club.
No,
to answer your question, what did Palace have to do with us? If Palace had lost the FA Cup final, Forest had automatically qualified for Europa.
But they didn't lose it. They won it.
No, hold on. You're asking what it's got to do with
defense.
us. So Palace being kicked out of Europa defaults Forest into it. That's what it's got to do with us.
In their defence, it's a dog-eat-dog world.
Qualify.
Yeah, but it's a dog-eat-dog world. And if he knew by getting that fella out, he could get himself
We're not doing this dog-eat-dog world nonsense.
We are.
Oh, what
We
are you
are.
telling me? Nice world out there now, and that people won't step over
No
someone
one's. Hang on. This can't be the answer to every football debate. Can't be it's a dog-eat-dog world, right?
To a lot of it, it is.
Nottingham Forest.
Yes, it
Nottingham
is.
Forest had nothing to do with the Europa League. They didn't qualify for it for the FA Cup. They didn't qualify for it through the league. So your owners had a little hissy fit because, no offence, you guys were looking very good for Champions League or Europa League all season. You fell away, got Conference League, which is still a bloody good achievement for your lot, and I think you'll agree with that in the cold light of day. It is. You were tipped to get relegated. Come on, Wolfie.
Right. So what would you do for your business? What would you do for your business?
Hang on. Don't point to your 2 stars, Wolfie, right? You lot, if I had said to any Forest fan at the beginning of last season, would you take 7th in Conference League? You would have all bit my hand off, right?
If you'd said that to me in January, what would I have said?
But I'm talking about the beginning of the season, right?
Why? Because you decided to cut off the beginning.
You guys had nothing to do with the Europa. Nothing. You didn't qualify for it. You didn't earn it. And your chairman then goes and writes a letter to UEFA going, oh, we failed and we're going to take it out on this club because they've got multi-ownership.
Okay.
Come on, man.
Right,
Savva, you think
if
Forest
Spurs were in a situation that so I'm sticking up for you here, Wolfie, yeah?
Yeah, no, go on.
If Spurs was in this situation of, right, we're in the Europa Cup, but the other team's in the Champions League. But if we go and grass them up and stitch them up like a kipper, they go down to Europa and we're in the Champions League. I would want Spurs to do that. Why? Because it's
I'd be embarrassed. I'd be embarrassed that we
as much
did
as
that.
you want, but it's a business. It's not about morals and confidence.
Exactly, like Savva, holier than thou. Suddenly,
you're
I'd
being
be
emotional,
embarrassed.
Savva. No,
Please let us have
this is business.
Please let us have Champions League football, even though we don't
Let
bloody
me put an actual example because Dan's spot on. Let me give you an actual example. When Forest and Everton got docked
Dan's
points
a Forest
2 years
fan
ago.
now. He's dead. He's dead to the Spurs community. He's a Forest fan.
Let me give you this example. When we got docked 4 points last season, was it the season before? Do we still talk about last season? Anyway, when we got docked our 4 points, because the Brennan Johnson one was just past a near miss. The money was still given to Spurs. The deal was still done. Forest would have been within PSR. Did Luton come out and say, you know what, for the fairness of the game and the fans, please don't dock Forest 4 points. We want to stay up on our own merit based on what's happened on the pitch. When Everton got docked 10 points, were teams coming around saying, you know what, poor old Everton, there was the COVID stuff and the everything.
So do you think, Wolfie, you think, right? And answer me honestly, do you think you deserve to be in that Europa Cup?
I think we
bottled. Answer me honestly, do you think?
I think we should have got Champions League and bottled it.
It's not what I asked.
I just really want to quick up the logic that Wolfie just implied there, because I think Wolfie was trying to suggest that because Everton and Forest were docked points in the Premier League campaign, that there was issues where someone, if you're making the argument that Crystal Palace didn't deserve it.
I'm saying if Luton had survived,
they're different competition.
No, because if Luton had survived by 2 points, would they be saying, "Oh, the moral high ground would be to give Forest their 4 points"?
But those things are within the same competition. Crystal Palace qualified via a different competition, so it's not the same. It's your apples and oranges. This one, mate. I love you, Wolfie. By the way, this is the third time in 3 days I've got the chance to stream with you. I absolutely adore you. But if there is anybody out there worse than the Levy outer, it's a Marinakis inner. And apparently, Wolfie, you've just taken the captain's armband away from Lubo. And I love
Marinakis. I'm thinking of getting a full framed image of him right here, right along the start.
Let me ask you a question.
Hang on. I still haven't got an answer to my question I just asked. Wolfie, yes or no? I don't want some long-winded where you should have finished. Do you, in your heart, believe that next season Nottingham Forest should be playing Europa League football?
Oh no, you changed the question. You said, did we earn it?
Okay, either way, it's the same.
No, we
question.
didn't earn it. No, we didn't earn it. But
Okay,
I think
you didn't earn it. Okay, so Wolfie, you didn't earn it. And your manager, your chairman is now crying because of something to do with multi-club ownership and has gone, yeah, we should now get that place. I mean, I'd be embarrassed.
The rules are the rules.
Even more embarrassing.
You're saying no. Hold on, Savva, because you're saying
more embarrassing. Will be one second.
Give me 1 sec.
More embarrassing, bro, is the fact that your owner tried to do the same thing that John Textor did, and if it wasn't for the fact that your team shit itself, you would have been falling foul of the same rules that Crystal Palace were by the fact that you guys were not. You weren't ahead of the March deadline either. So
I get all that.
No, but we actually wrote to UEFA and UEFA extended the deadline, so that's a whole different thing.
But
hold on, the narrative you're spinning still, Savva, is that Forest kicked Palace out of Europa. That's
by your chairman making a complaint. Yeah,
that is so disingenuous. It's on another planet. So
I'm sorry, Wolfie. I am with you on this one.
Thank you, Dan.
I am with you. Let me ask everyone on here a question then. Everyone.
Go on.
It's each their own. It's an opinion. Right. Like I said to you, Savva, Spurs are in the Europa Cup. Chelsea are in the Champions League. But we know if we go and grass them up with something or just act like dirty little snakes and that, they go in Europa, we go in Champions League. Simple question for everyone. Would you expect your business or club to do it? Yes, I would, and I wouldn't give a shit. Personal opinion. What about the rest? Or do we just do what is morally correct and sit in the Europa when we could have got another 100 million in that?
I'm with you with this, Dan, because I know that life is just not.
It's purely opinions. Okay.
No, I'm with. Because
what exactly is it that Nottingham Forest have got on Tottenham that every other club doesn't have on every other club?
That wasn't what the question was about.
That's not the question, though, Sean.
No, it is. Nottingham Forest. Your question was, Dan, essentially saying that if there's a chance to grass someone up for something, which is the accusation that's being aimed at Marinakis, that every chance he gets, he grasses someone up. I'm saying, in the case of Tottenham and Nottingham, is this the point you're making about the is it the Gibbs-White?
Basically, the point. No. Basically, the point I'm making is,
the Crystal Palace thing. Okay.
When it comes to business, it's a dog eat dog world as far as I'm concerned, and you only get to the top through being shrewd and through being cold. Now, in other worlds,
but you would cry your fucking eyes out if someone did it to Spurs. You would cry.
Of course you would. He's not saying you would.
But let me finish the question. So let everyone answer the question then. Yeah.
In
other places, you don't do it. Hang on. Just let everyone answer the question. Yeah. I think it's a serious question. In certain places, you don't do it because you won't ever see your home again. Yeah. But this is business at the end of the day. So if Spurs have got the option, we're in the Europa. But if we be dirty little snakes and grass Chelsea up, they go down to Europa. We go down to Champions League. You said yes, Alex. What would everyone else expect to do? What is best for their club and business?
Go back on Savva. I've just need to go back on Savva.
That's what I'm saying, Sean.
No, it's not about the whole thing about I'm ashamed or anything like that. Unfortunately, it is what it is. I mean, what Wolfie says makes a good point. When you adopt how many points, right? Did any other team that was in that area, right, was around that area, have put a feel sorry song for Forest? Didn't
What's up? Did anyone in the league? Hang on,
hang on, guys. If somebody addresses a point, let the other person come back to it at least, right? But Alex, Sean's just addressed that point. I thought he did it brilliantly. You're comparing apples and oranges. When you're comparing about the points in the Premier League that are affecting people staying up or going down, as Sean just said, but we're talking about different competitions here. You're talking about different competitions. Crystal Palace, to get to the Champions League, to the Europa League via the FA Cup, has got nothing to do with Nottingham Forest.
Nothing to do with the Premier League.
They go and grass them up, and it gets them in the Europa.
Guys, hang on. Stop. Hang on.
Okay.
Right? It's got nothing to do with Nottingham Forest and nothing to do with the Premier League. The multi-club ownership thing, it's nothing to do with Nottingham Forest. If Nottingham Forest, right, had some sort of injustice, if they had deserved Europa League football, I would be sitting here with you all going, yeah, I get it. If Crystal Palace...
Yeah, like Lasagna Gate, for example. Like it's a weird thing.
Yes. If Crystal Palace cheated to win the FA Cup, I'll sit here and go, yes. If Crystal Palace did something illegal because of John Textor, is that his name? Because of John Textor, yes. But this has got nothing to do with Nottingham
Did you just say
Forest.
if Crystal Palace cheated to win the
You're
FA Cup,
diverting the
you'd be saying
question.
something?
You're skipping
Okay.
the question, and
Okay.
most of the people ain't even.
What did Dean
answering.
Henderson do?
Would you want your club to do that? To grass the other one up to get them out of Europa to get in Champions
Wolfie,
League? Come on,
Wolfie,
only
bro,
two
you're
people
showing your
answered it.
colours, mate. Wolfie, you're showing your colours.
I'm just
Wolfie,
rebutting
that's
Savva's
low
point.
even for you, man. That's low even for you.
Did
That's
Dean
low.
Henderson cheat? Did Dean Henderson cheat?
Yep, hang on. You mean
That's for
VAR
the
made a
referee to
mistake?
figure out. That's for the referee to figure out.
Yeah,
that's not for us
Exactly,
bodies to figure
Sean.
out.
And who is this decision to figure out? Is it Marinakis' letter or was it UEFA?
Well,
No,
what
I
do you-
actually make you right on that for what it's worth. I don't think Marinakis' letter had anything to do with it. I actually don't think it had anything to do with it.
I just think
But
he's
when you're making the
horrible.
argument that you've made, I think your argument is thin and entirely apples and oranges. But for what it's worth, I don't think Marinakis' letter had anything to do with it. Would have come out in the wash anyway. So I don't think it necessarily had anything to do with it. But the argument you've made to defend your boy, who you shouldn't be defending because it's worse than Lubo trying to attack Daniel Levy at every opportunity, it all comes across as a little bit biased and a little bit.
So let me ask Savva this: if Marinakis doesn't put that letter in, do you think Crystal Palace is still in the Europa League?
Listen, I think that UEFA are so poorly run that anything is possible, my friend. But look,
No, I'm with you. Regardless, I think that the outcome would be the outcome.
Can I ask you a question, though? Can I ask you a question? Why is your chairman constantly complaining about everyone and writing letters about everything? I mean, I'm going to sue Gary Neville because he said some nasty things about our football club. I'm going to have a go at UEFA for Crystal Palace. Spurs have bought our player for the exact price we wanted and I'm still not happy. Come on, man. Your owner's got previous. At some point, this is going to bite him and your football club on the arse because you're like the little boy that cried wolf. No pun intended.
Can you admit, Wolfie, that he does look a little bit petulant?
No,
A little bit.
no.
Yeah,
Because
well, I
Savva's
was
just
just start
thrown
with a little
kind
bit
of.
and work him up to a lot, but I just wanted to see what his
Well,
first.
Savva's just done some kind of hyperlatives there, like, Gary Neville said some bad stuff about the club. No, but Gary Neville said some stuff about Marinakis directly, calling him some mafia gang and all this stuff, right? So that's direct slander at him. That's why he asked for an apology from Gary Neville. He didn't ask to have Gary Neville hung, drawn and quartered, which, by the way, Gary Neville hid behind Sky when he was told that he had to, and Sky had to apologize on his behalf. So Gary Neville hasn't even got the balls to make an apology. Forest and Wolves when I say last season, I mean the season, you know what season I'm talking about. We're done by VAR week in, week out. There's a whole catalogue of Forest stuff. And when Marinakis had enough and spoke out about VAR, then the Premier League went and fined him 750,000. Yet, where
But
was
he's complaining about everything. Like,
but
everything, Wolfie.
would you rather your owner came out and said, this VAR is a joke, this is that and the other? Or would you rather they get, handcuffed in their interviews and sit there and say, I can't talk about it. I can't talk. Marinakis like, I don't care. I'm talking about it.
I hear what you're saying about all that stuff. Like when you have like a rip-roaring horrendous decision against you and the fans are all in meltdown and then you get a representative of your club that is backing the fans' corner in that outrage, I think that it ingratiates him into the narrative. I think it buys the fans buy-in, right? I think everyone gets behind him and that's fine. But at the same time, that also leads to situations where when he acts like a donut, like he has been for the last 48, 72 hours, then the fans are still going to back him. And for what it's worth, mate, like I've done a lot of research into Marinakis because I do a lot of multi-club ownership kind of content. Like I think he's the one captain of a multi-club ownership that doesn't seem to have too many people in any of the companies or the clubs that he owns that feels resentful towards him. In most examples, most multi-club ownerships have pecking order politics whereby there's always a club or a set of fans somewhere that doesn't like the relationship. He doesn't seem to have that. So fair play. And that's why I've always championed him for what it's worth as being a bastion of the multi-club ownership model. However, in the last couple of months, the experience that I've seen firsthand has been one whereby the fans are always going to back him because he's been acting like a fan, doing the things that fans would love their clubs to see in the face of subjective sort of discrimination on the part of referees or whatever. Like to your point, the bad VAR where he gets involved. But ultimately, what that leaves you with is a guy that's won you over in the minutiae, but at the macro level, he's acting like a donut, and the fan base need to recognise the difference. And I think you're missing the point here. He's acting a little bit like a child in a big boys game.
The other point,
I mean,
Wolfie, can I just say the other point that we've all missed as well, away from Forest, is that the biggest culprits are UEFA, because Leon should never have been let off.
Yeah, true.
I'm reading reports saying that Leon are guilty, and for some reason have got off here.
Yeah, Leon
That
should have said
with Leon as well. With
Leon
Leon
should have said, rather than saying if you keep us in League Two, then we'll give up Europa. What they should have said was, if you let us back into League One, then as a compromise, we will give up Europa, and that would help Palace out. I don't understand why it is that Leon get there.
But why would they do that when they're under financial pressure, and Europa football would bring an alleviation to that financial pressure?
Because the only reason that they got back from League Two to League One was under a subjective jurisdiction anyway. So as a gratitude for the subjective jurisdiction, they should say, on that basis, we'll let you go. It doesn't even make any sense. Just because they have a coefficient that's higher than a team that doesn't have any historical pedigree, why is it that one team should get the precedence over another in a multi-club ownership, especially when that company, that second club has broken multiple rules financially over the last 5 years?
Well, because the rules of the coefficient. No one's rewritten them.
But if you've broken rules to the point where you've been relegated,
similar
to the idea that Aston Villa and Chelsea break the rules that they might be okay to do it in the Premier League, but they break the rules according to UEFA. They then, through a mechanism that has broken the rules in a system, in a league that gets you the qualification into the competition where the rules have been broken, just because they can do what they can do in our league, but under the European competition that they qualify for, they've broken the rules. They get a slap on the wrist and they get a fine that is about 20% of the money that they will make from being able to participate.
Exactly.
It's a ridiculous system, and Leon are benefiting from exactly the same model. The fact that you break the rules, you get relegated, you get to stay up, and then you still get to play. Shit, especially when it's other teams of it.
But Marinakis didn't write a letter about that.
How can if you're going by the letter of the law, purely in black and white, which is how it works in courts, is that if Palace are guilty of whatever of dual ownership, multi ownership, if Leon are guilty of whatever they've been found guilty for, how can one team get off and the other team get found, get punished? I don't get it.
You're conflicting 2 or 3 different cases together that all eventually wind up to one case. So Leon had ridiculous amount of debt to the stage where they got relegated, pending appeal. Now, Palace is different, because Palace, who's getting away with this is Steve Parish. They did not respond or claim to see the email that was sent to them, because it went to their info@palace.co.uk box, which, by the way, is the one they issued to the Premier League. Okay, so there's no where's the anger from Palace fans towards Parish for not sorting this out? Now they say, oh, we were playing Millwall that round and what have you. There was no formal approach, even when Forest were feeling like they were going to get Europe and there was a conflict. Forest wrote to UEFA to say, can we get our blind trust in by this date? So there was a request put in by Forest. There was no request put in by Palace at all. So Palace are trying to hide behind stuff that basically would have been all null and void had they just responded to the rules that were set by UEFA. If Parish had got Texter to put his shares into a blind trust, we're not having this conversation.
Wolfie,
we are having this conversation because the rules were changed in March, and the decision for Parish for Texter to sell didn't happen until late April.
No, the email got sent out in October
of last year.
Yeah, right. 24.
But either way, of the two, that the bigger picture here is that I completely understand the narrative of why you can't have 2 clubs playing in the same competition that could face each other. Conflict of interest, even though the idea of Chinese walls in football is an absolute farce. The 2 teams that have the highest frequency of transfer between each other in the history or in the last 35 years is Red Bull Leipzig and Red Bull Salzburg. The idea that there is a Chinese wall between the two clubs is an absolute disgrace. It's bollocks. But either way, if you're looking at the two clubs, I know like at the end of the world, you have to have rules in place. I get it. But at the same time, if it's a subjective tribunal that is deciding whether or not Lyon get to stay in Ligue 1 or go down to Ligue 2, then there can equally be on merit a subjective tribunal that decides which of the two teams under a multi-club ownership get to qualify for Europe. The team that did it on merit, that hasn't broken any rules apart from some administrative error, or the team that has broken financial punishments 2, 3, 4 times. To me, it's a fucking disgrace that Lyon gets the nod ahead of Forest, and the only thing Forest are a victim of is not being more successful as recently as Lyon, despite the fact that Lyon have broken rules to be as successful as they have.
Are you kicking off about Brøndby?
I don't know the Brøndby story, sorry.
Exactly. So Brøndby are owned under another multi-ship owner by a guy called Blitzer, who, by the way, has shares in Palace.
Yes. So
Brøndby, who qualified on their own merit to get into the Conference League, are potentially now going to get kicked out of that at the expense of Crystal Palace. But I don't hear any uproar about Brøndby.
Well, no, I don't know the story. I would certainly, if there is, I'll go and research it, and if what you're saying is legit and is consistent, I will certainly share your frustration with that one.
I don't give a shit, man. As long as Forest get the best thing we can get, I'm not bothered.
Okay, but this is sort of thing.
No, my point is, like, I agree with what you're saying, Sean. The rules are stupid, right? Because there is a chance that if Forest got into, say, the Champions League and we hadn't bottled it, we could have played Olympiacos, who are both owned straight up by Marinakis. Yes, there's minority shareholders, but his passion is both of them. So are you suddenly telling me because Marinakis has his Forest shares in a blind trust? Yeah,
it changes anything.
What you did in that kind of game. Yeah, you got Nice and United, you got Genoa and Man City, you got the Red Bull ones that you were talking about.
The PIF own Newcastle and happen to also be involved in 7 different funds that are also major investors.
And aren't they doing something with your stadium stuff as well now?
And now they may be doing something at our stadium as well. And I don't care.
That's maybe UEFA at fault then, isn't it? That's maybe UEFA needs to change the rules or get it right, don't they?
The problem is, Dan, right, is that if you go to Turkey, you look at Besiktas and Fenerbahce, and I'm not sure about Galatasaray, but at least those two, as examples, publicly listed companies, as in stock market listed companies, are relatively rare in football these days. But for what it's worth, Manchester United are, for example, still, but Besiktas and Fenerbahce definitely are. The 3 biggest investors in basically any in any publicly listed company across the planet on any stock exchange are BlackRock, are Vanguard and State Street, and usually somewhere between 4 and 10 is Blackstone Capital. Blackstone Capital happens to be run by David Blitzer, the guy that Wolfie just referenced was a part owner in Crystal Palace. So I don't know how to simplify it because it's very complex. But essentially, once you step one standard deviation away from the direct owner, you get into this tangled web where everybody owns a slice of everybody, and so it's very, very complex and very muddy.
To what percentages you go to and everything else and that sort of thing to then put rules down and everything else. Fair enough.
So how did we get from Morgan Gibbs-White to...
Yeah, I probably came in and just took everyone down the path.
This is what we do.
It's short. Typical short.
It's like this all the time.
Hang on, I know Marlon. I think you need to bounce, don't you?
Yeah, I need to bounce.
Marlon, thank you for choosing here tonight by default. Really appreciate you.
Different to last one. You don't get this on Last Word on Spurs. This is why I came.
Yeah. It's very different to Last Word on Spurs. Big up to you though. Big up to Ricky Sachs.
Big up to everyone. Big up. Big up.
I need to jump to
Marlon, thank you very much.
Cheers.
Just quickly, guys, before we go on, I have please everyone get over to Spurs Kings TV and subscribe to Marlon. I have completely neglected super chats tonight. I'm going to do some super chats now. I'm also going to say that there's nearly 1,000 people in here and 336 likes, which is, I mean, I keep saying this. I don't want Dominic Solanke conversion rates. Please stop with the Dominic Solanke conversion rates. Give me Harry Kane
conversion rates.
We need Chris Wood conversion rates, apparently. Let me rattle off these. Wayne Holland, big up to you. As I always say, thank you very much, Wayne. Not just for the super sticker, but for Leicester City being worse than Tottenham last year and keeping us in the Premier League. Thank you very, very much, Wayne. Really appreciate that. You're a very nice guy, and I appreciate it, my man. Thank you. Big up to Daniel Field. He's always here, keeping the super sticker train going. We love it. Thank you very much indeed, Daniel. You're always very generous. I do appreciate you, my man. Chop Cheese. I love this name. Chop Cheese. It said Savva. Big up from New York at the Club World Cup Finals Day, and Palmer is cooking. But it's always, come on, you Spurs. Was hoping for Chelsea tears today. Come on, PSG. Yeah, that's not panned out very well. Chelsea are 3-0 up with 10 minutes to go and really should be 4 or 5 up, if we're brutally honest. They've been absolutely phenomenal, and I hate to say that. They look tasty. Big up, Chop Cheese. Hope you enjoy your day out in at the stadium. Big up to Craig Scott, General Tracks. DJ General Tracks, big up to you. Said I can't wait for the Panto derbies, pure gold. Mate, listen, it's always pantomime season, right? It's always pantomime season. So big up to you, Craig. Really do appreciate that. Big up to Sanctuary of 7, who said, random question. Savva on the panel, help me solve an argument with my kids. How do you all pronounce Lidl? How I just pronounced it, Lidl. Is anyone going against me there?
How you just
Lidl?
pronounced it, yeah.
Yes,
Lidl.
correct.
I want to know how your kids pronounce it.
What's the other way?
Lidl?
Lidl, maybe?
Lidl. Liddell? Lidl, Sanctuary of 7. Get those kids in order. Come on, man. Lidl. Big up to you, Sanctuary. Always very generous. Mark, he's become a member lately. Big up to you. Always putting in the super stickers. Very, very generous indeed. Really appreciate you, my man. Thank you very much. As is Andy Lester, another member of mine. Good to meet you the other day on the members only show. Liam Delap. Oh, he should have made it 4. Andy Lester, thank you very much, brother. Really appreciate you. Rick Kane, my man, thank you very much for the super sticker. Really do appreciate you out there in Australia. One of the few people out there that does tolerate me. So thank you very much, Rick. And this is the guy with the best name on YouTube. I will argue this with anyone. Sounds like a wrestler or someone from Game of Thrones. Krista Scorpion Nyland, the best name in the world, has said, isn't it strange that Romano, Jacobs, and the people from Sky Sports have all commented on things after this, but Ornstein is the only one who hasn't said anything. He seems calmer than all the other journalists. Listen, what I will say about Ornstein is when Ornstein says something, I get excited. And what I mean by that is when he breaks the news of a transfer, I always feel that it's somewhat... But thanks for that, Sean. Yes. I always feel that it's somewhere further down the line than when we hear 95 tweets from Plettenberg and from Romano, etc. But listen, I trust in Ornstein. Big up to you, Krista. Really appreciate you, my man. And Paul Watkins, rounding off the super stickers for the time being. Thank you very much. And thank you to the 20 people who have subscribed tonight. We are driving towards that 20K finish line. Not finish line, you know what I mean? The 20K line. We've had 350 subs in the last 2.5 days. Come on, people. Smash that subscribe button. Please subscribe to Wolfie at Forest Fan TV. Please subscribe to Alex at Mr. Box Office. Please subscribe to Hotspur Hood. Please subscribe to Spurs Talk Show. And, guys, back to Morgan Gibbs-White. It's going to get done, right? Do we all believe it's going to get done early this week? Are we all confident of that from a Spurs and Forest fan standpoint?
100%.
Yep.
It's up to Maranakis.
It's not up to Maranakis.
Not up to Maranakis.
It's shameless.
It's always
Utterly
Not up to Maranakis. Not up to him.
Yeah. I've got to jump off though, boys. But
Wolfie, thank you, mate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it gets done. I think we'll get a lot more content still out of it, but that way, it's not quite over the line yet. And
Wolfie doesn't want this to be resolved for weeks.
I know, believe me, I want it resolved yesterday, man. Like I miss sleep, I really do. And I was just thinking about that Lidl question. Isn't the middle aisle called middle of Lidl or whatever? So it must rhyme because the whole thing.
Mate, I have no idea. Why does anyone think I'm an expert on Lidl? I have no idea.
Just helping out.
No idea.
Listen, Sam, let's be entirely honest. No one's going to be considering you expert of Waitrose, are we? Let's be entirely real here, mate. There's levels to the game, bro.
Wow! Oh wow! Oh,
You can at least go Sainsbury's.
Daniel Levy fan club giving it to me about Waitrose. Wolfie, thanks very much,
At least
mate.
they weren't calling you Aldi, mate. You know, maybe that's a little step
Yeah,
up.
Aldi, Lidl. I
Boy,
don't like
have a great
either of them.
stream. Good to catch up with you all. We'll speak soon, yeah?
See you, mate. Take care.
See you,
Bye bye.
Take care, mate.
it's
Supermarket
the customer
Heritage TV.
experience.
Love that.
It's the customer experience I can't get on board with at Lidl or Aldi. You know, they've not got the checkout at the end. Like, they've got nowhere where your food goes. It's like they put it through and it goes straight into a trolley. I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, let's get back. Let's get away from Morgan Gibbs-White. A lot of rumors going around that we're going to be spending big. A lot of rumors that we're going to be spending big. They are rumors. But more and more now we're seeing about takeover. We're seeing about investment. We're seeing about naming rights. Still, though, there's a lot of fans that aren't buying into this. Is this purely that we've been hurt so many times that we don't want to see the truth? Or is it that we're all so scared that something is going to happen and everything will die away and we'll just be left with the same setup we've had for years?
I was wondering if people were going to say something first.
Yeah, me too, Alex. Me too.
Well, for me, I was having a conversation with somebody about this. For me, there's a part of me that wants to say, yeah, I want to get I want to get excited in one way, but another way, I'll sit there and think, well, no, because the last how many years now, and last year now, I've not liked it at Tottenham, and so I do think they do need to do a lot more to get me on board still, in one way, because I do feel that they put me. I just think last season was so bad. Last season, I just zoned out so badly last season. It does feel like there's a bit of a change. It does feel like there's some investment or somewhere or another. There's something changing, especially with the rumors about Daniel Levy being, not taking a lesser role now. But there is also something that I know someone spoke to me about a few years ago, and I do feel this might be something is coming to head right now for me, where I think somewhere along the line, above Daniel Levy and Enoch, well, it's somewhere in Enoch and the actual owner of Enoch. I think someone below him has just said wasn't happy about what was going on from the get-go. I think now it's coming to pass now, where I think now they're trying to push their power into the whole thing with changing things a little bit, and that's why you're seeing the new person coming in to take charge a little bit. Not just Vinay, the other guy. I forgot his name now. What is his name? Forgot his name now.
Charrington,
yeah. Charrington, yeah. So I think they've had an influence on Charrington coming in, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing right now. And this is why now Vinay's come in. Why maybe, everything was left to the summer. And really, it's just really to see now where this goes now for me. That's just my take on it, I think. Anybody else has got something else to say?
Okay. I mean, let me go. Lubo's always. Oh, go on, Dan, and then I'll get Lubo in because Lubo and Sean, whatever Lubo says, Sean will retort. So, Dan, you go first.
I just think it's just nice to see something that you can actually say looks positive for a change. How it goes for the future, time will tell. But at the moment, if you'd have honestly said to me at the start of the season, the buys that we've actually made, yeah, one or two I could have gone without, but two of the main buys we made, I've said, okay, happy enough person. Because the thing that I think a lot of us have been asking for is go for quality, not quantity. You know what? Instead of getting me 5 or 6 or 7 players, whatever, go and get me 2 good players that get into that first team, then get me that loan in January I need, then get me the next 2 players in the next window that get into that first team and build it from there instead of just keep buying maybe 1 all right or 1 good player and 4 whatever they're there for sort of thing players. It's good enough for me at the moment. Obviously I want to see more, but I'm pleasantly surprised at the minute.
Lubo, is it good enough for you at the moment? Do we need to see more?
Oh, listen, we're moving on very, very nicely at the moment. You heard what I said at the beginning of the show. It's moving on. Vinay's running football. Very happy. Very, very happy. Most happiest I've been macro position wise in 25 years.
Not getting a lot out of you lot right now, am I? I'm really trying to drag the show through. Sean, help me out. Give me an answer that isn't 5 seconds long. Sean, lots of talk is that Vinay is now running the football side of things and that Levy's moving into the more commercial side of things. Is this something that could potentially work beautifully for the club? Because there's a lot of people who didn't want Vinay. And all I was told was he did a terrible job at Arsenal and the Arsenal fans hated him. What do you make of it all?
Yeah, I think it could work.
I'm
kidding. You know, listen, if everyone else wants to give 5-word answers, allow me to give 5 paragraphs or even a chapter. I think, mate, that this situation is the perfect storm. I think it's the perfect storm of opportunity. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's happening, and I don't think anybody knows. I think the ITKs that are claiming they're ITK, I think they're full of shit. I think nobody really knows anything. I think that these things are behind NDAs galore. Anyone that's a part of that's privy to the information of what's actually happening would never jeopardize the legal ramifications of letting that cat out of the bag to benefit some bozo with 20,000 or 5,000 followers on YouTube or Twitter or anywhere else, right? Even journalists, there's no upside for them to let something out when the consequences of breaking an NDA are incredibly punitive. So I think a lot of people are just speculating, taking things that have previously been said and spinning the story because they know that there's clicks. It's the game. Everyone's got to respect the game. What I would say, though, is that there's clearly something happening, however that looks. If there's any truth to the idea that this £300 million sponsorship deal, right, that got everybody excited, £300 million sponsorship deal as a statement sounds incredible. £25 million a year over 12 years doesn't quite sound as great, does it? £30 million over 10 years doesn't really sound as good. It buys you the right foot of a kudos. It pays off your interest payments, which is still meaningful. I'm not knocking it.
Yeah.
I think that there's merit to the idea that we're now moving into the phase 2 of the stadium brand, in as much as for the last 5 or 6 years, it was the shiny new toy in the stadium game. But now you've got Real Madrid have got their new bad boy. Barcelona's about to drop theirs. I'm sure Newcastle will have theirs. Chelsea will have theirs. Everton have got theirs. Maybe Everton's not quite as pretty as ours, but essentially, the glitter eventually appears to be not quite as gold. And so, after a while, they'll stop saying it's the best stadium in the world. And so, I think that there's a merit to say that for the last 5 years, there's been a palpable and justifiable value in keeping it Tottenham Hotspur Stadium for EA Sports games, for the NFL, for the TV, for Beyonce, yada, yada, boxing, everything else. Now that Tottenham are not quite it's not going to be the best stadium in the world for much longer because everything has its tag for a little while. Great. Yeah. If you can go and get something in, whether it's the Neom Arena or whether it's the Aramco or Riyadh Air or somewhere else, if that's what it is, then I think it's the right time to do it. But I would also say it's not the needle mover that we think it is. And the fact that we just gone and bought a £60 million player and a £55 million player, and the probability is that you're paying the 60 bar up front, unless there's a clause in the contract that says for Gibbs-White that, yes, you can get him for 60 and the clause is a certain structural payment. If that clause isn't there, then it will be a one and done deal. And the fact that Nottingham Forest aren't happy means that if this is going to go ahead, it will be in the least the least supportive terms as possible from a Nottingham Forest position. And so if we're dropping 60 million up front for him, 55 on Kudus, and we've also done Tell and we've done yada, 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 the others, Danso and Kota Teke and all that stuff, and we've still got change for another one, then I don't think that the deal could possibly be just around a stadium sponsor, because I don't think it moves the needle enough. What I would say, though, is I do think that Daniel Levy is being probably asked to step aside and just focus on other things. I think that's a good thing for the present. I think it's a great thing for the future. But I think that does not validate the idea that he was a failure in the past. I think he was a perfect, or not perfect, an imperfect but incredibly credible chairman for Tottenham for the last 25 years, where his tenure that was organic in its growth against people that had very little in the way of obstacles in front of them with their access to resources. I think he did a phenomenal job, and his little crown on his head is that if he is getting sidelined, it's only after lifting a European trophy, which very few other chairmen can ever say. And so I say, well done, Daniel Levy. I say bravo to Tottenham Hotspur. The shift, the transition, the new paradigm is starting, and it's wonderful for everybody. Lubo is still entirely wrong. Congratulations.
Wonderful to get 2 trophies in 25 years, fall behind the other big 5 clubs. It's wonderful, Sean. It's fantastic.
100%.
Wonderful. Let's
Really
just fall back. Let's just fall behind.
No, it's fantastic. It was fantastic given the context.
Fantastic to have a chairman with
sensational effort.
Wonderful to have a chairman with no ambition on the football side, who's only interested in making money for
That's not true. That's not true at all.
That's wonderful, Sean. You carry on with that. That's fantastic.
That's not true at all, is it though? That's just your opinion. That's your biased opinion that you describe as fact. What he did do, he was the guy that was trying to compete amongst the cyclists in the Tour de France that were doped up. They were doped up to their eyeballs, and he was doing it clean. He was the geezer. He was the geezer in the gym who struggled to get to 90 kg on the bench press, struggled to 95, finally got to 100k, and then once he beat that benchmark of 100k, he turned around and went, okay, now I've done that. I did that by myself. Now it's time to put the juice in. I've done that bit natty. Now let's see what this body is capable of. But he prepared the body for what the steroids are about to produce. Well done, Daniel Levy. Congratulations, Daniel. You are a champion, bro. A champion. And Lubo has no idea how to respect champions.
When Harry Redknapp wants Tevez and Cahill, wonderful chairman. No, I'm not spending the money. I'm not interested in winning the league championship. I'll go and get Sahar Nelson. Wonderful chairman. You keep supporting that, Sean. I'm a fan. And for me, what's important is on the football pitch, not the real estate.
You have no idea. You have no idea about the context of the stuff that's happening.
Context.
Context. I'm a football fan. Explains, which means I don't really know.
Listen, facts are the facts. Look at the last.
Not the facts. The facts. The opinions. The opinions are the opinions. The Lubo doesn't understand the difference.
Yeah, 25 years. 2 trophies.
Hang on a second. The facts are on the other side, though, and there's definitely both sides. You're both right as far as I'm concerned. But looking on one side for a minute, the fact is we are the 8th richest club in the world. The fact is we have one of the best stadiums on the planet. The fact is we are one of the only clubs on this planet that can support themselves without having to win a cup, without having to sell players consistently, and can just live off our own revenue. 100%. We've got training facilities and everything. The fact is that Levy has made this club to the point where the next people that come in and take it over, that's all they got to do is look at the football to take us up a level. They haven't got to worry about nothing on that side. Whereas whoever comes in, look at what Manchester United got to do. They got to build a new stadium, got to do this. Look at what Chelsea got to do at some stage. They got to get a new stadium. Look what others will do. Whoever comes in and buys Spurs now, which is pretty much a sleeping giant to an extent of what it could be, they've just got to focus on the football because Levy built the rest. Now, if you want to take it over to the other side, on the football side, 2 trophies, not acceptable. The way he's treated the fans, not acceptable. This, and this. Overall, the negatives outweigh the positives, but you've got to sit there and say the only reason any of us even have the right here to sit here and debate that we should be fighting for the top 4, we should be fighting for Champions League. It's because of Gibbs-White. We should. What are we even getting excited about? We should be doing that with who we are. That is because of Daniel Levy.
Lubo, name me 5 fans who would rather not have Daniel Levy as their next chairman.
I'm not interested in other teams, Sean. You can throw
Exactly. There you go,
Not
exposing
interested.
yourself as a
I'm
half-ass,
interested in
a Harry
I'm
half-ass.
not
No, it doesn't know it. That's why you're not
I'm sorry,
interested,
Sean,
mate.
Sean,
It doesn't suit your
you don't let
narrative.
me finish. You ask me something and then you carry on talking.
Yeah, it's true. I did,
I'm
yeah.
not interested. When I'm going to away games, I'm not thinking about the other fans of other clubs. Not interested. It's what's on the pitch that counts. I'm a football fan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a football
I'm a
fan.
football
There's
fan
two
too,
sides
but
to
I had the
football.
ability to...
That's it. I'm not interested in that.
Sorry, so when I
I'm not
interrupted you,
interested in the
can you
rest.
add any more context into the answer apart from
Not
no, I'm a
interested.
football fan? Yeah, the way you say you're a football fan, it's almost like you're saying that I'm not one.
I didn't say that. I said I'm a football fan, so I'm not overly interested. He's got fantastic. What he's created is the best turnkey operation because we've got a great stadium, we've got a great training ground. Wonderful, fantastic. That is Daniel Levy's done a great job for selling the club and making himself an absolute fortune.
He's also bought players, 15 players on the bounce that you're happy with all of them, by the way.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. None of them were as good as the buys that we made with Paul Mitchell, and he hounded Paul Mitchell out.
Who was also under Daniel Levy's tenure.
Yeah.
Right. So every single player that you like now, every single player you liked then was also under Daniel Levy's tenure.
Yeah.
The only reason you're not happy is because we were competing against people that changed the rules, that broke the rules, that didn't adhere to the rules, and that have an abnormal relationship with money, and that doesn't come into your... You answered it yourself, mate. I'm not interested in other teams. You need to be interested in other teams for you to have a well-rounded argument.
Sean, you just talk and talk and talk. And you talk about...
I was finishing my point. When you say I overtalk you, I was finishing my point. You were trying to get in, and then you say I talk and talk and talk. Yeah. When you say I overtalk you, bro, you are overtalking me when I'm still talking. Remember that. Works the same way, bro.
I don't see Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United in that bracket of clubs that you're talking about who have maybe broken rules. Don't see them involved.
Who, sorry?
Liverpool, Arsenal, Man United.
Arsenal, Manchester United, and Liverpool, the 3 teams that have won more than us since we've been in existence.
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Why don't you ever compare ourselves to teams that we've had a similar
Have a look at the trophy list. Have a look at the trophy list.
I've got the trophy list, mate. I've done a 75-year review on my channel. You've seen it, Lubo.
From when Enid took over, where Tottenham were and where they are now. That's my answer. They're facts.
And where were Manchester City when we took over? And where were Chelsea? And what's happened? And what's the rationale for why, Lubo? You ignore all of the context because it doesn't agree with your argument. Unfortunately, though, when you ask very simple yes and no answers, like, are you happy with Mohamed Kudus? Yes. Are you happy with Morgan Gibbs-White? Yes. Were you happy with Archie Gray? Yes. Were you happy with Danzo? Yes. Were you happy with Romero? Yes. Yes. Porro? Yes. Doggy? Yes. Vicaria? Every player we've signed, you're more than happy with, and yet you still hate the guy that's in charge of signing them. It's ludicrous.
Doesn't give his best. But now, thank God, hopefully now we've got Vinay running the football side. Now we've got our Tottenham back, I think.
I can totally go with what you're saying as well, Ian, because when it comes to the football side, he really hasn't got us progressing to what the other side has. The other side has got us up here, which looks like this side should be up there, but it's always lingered down there.
Sure.
But when it comes to the facts for me, I just try and look at this open-minded on both sides, and the negatives definitely outweigh the positives for me because I'm more on the football side. But I also do understand that whether you like it, whether anyone likes it or not, football is just as much of a business as it is a sport now. If not, it's more of a business than a bloody sport. Same as most sports these days. And I'm not saying that's good.
Right?
It is at the end of the day. You got to get to the top one way or another. And with that, I know. And with that, you've just got to look at both sides, Ian. But as all I ever see of certain Spurs fans who have got such a blind hate for someone, which isn't a word that I even use in my life as such 100%. For things, because nothing will ever get in my head that much that I hate it, to the power of love sort of thing, where they're just the same thing but opposite, when you want people to join you on something and see your side on it and join you on a team against whatever you want to go against, but you're just being so narrow-minded at times, not just you, but a lot of people, that as all you will do is sit there and slate and slate. And I'm not just talking about you, Ian, I'm talking about a lot in general. And we'll just slate and slate and slate one fella who deserves a majority of what he gets, And then all of a sudden, it goes right, it goes right, it goes right. When everything was wrong, it was his fault. But now it's all going right. It's nothing to do with him.
Dan,
You've got to weigh this up.
Dan, he's done a fantastic job for him. Fantastic job for
This is it all the time.
You just did it there, Ian.
But
Wonderful.
Lubo.
Wonderful.
You're so entrenched in your opinion, mate. You're so entrenched in your opinion.
Those are facts. He's done a great
Not
job.
facts. They're facts, but there's all byproduct benefits, mate. That's what happens with any team that's successful.
But you see, his success in terms of making money is way up there, and the footballing success is way down there.
Do you expect the CEO or the owner of a business to make sure that the customers are happy? Do you expect the CEO to go out to keep feeding money? You know, I run a business, Lubo. You run a business. You're the CEO of your business, right? Should you run at a loss to keep your customers happy?
But now you're going to extremes. Why
no, I'm not. That's what you're saying. You're saying he's profited for himself, and that's all that's the reason why I hate him. He's the owner of the business. Him and his bosses.
Sean, he could have stretched himself a bit more and still made money and still given the club more of a chance of competing. But he chose not to. Enoch chose not to. Whether it's him, Enoch chose not to.
He ran a sustainable business. How is that a problem? Everybody else ahead of them. Do you think Chelsea are running a sustainable business? Of course they're not. Of course they're not. I'll save you the bother of the difference in your argument. Of course they're not running a sustainable business. They are running at a massive loss. They are robbing Peter to pay Paul, and they're running out of options. Congratulations to them tonight, by the way. But they are not they're not that will never be the way to you won't find the Chelsea business model held up at the school of business in Bristol or at Cambridge as the bastion of how to run a business. You might find it at Tottenham because they did it organically and they managed to make ends meet. Everybody above them had to rely on sugar daddies, and Tottenham have competed. And by the way, finished, got to a Champions League final, won a Europa League Cup, finished second and third in the Premier League, all whilst we were competing in a peer group pressure situation against people that had a different relationship with money. And that because we didn't get over the line, even if we did, for what it's worth, if we win the Premier League next year and there's no clarification that Daniel Levy is not at the helm anymore, you will still find a reason to be angry because you made your mind up a long time ago. You are closed-minded on that one.
No, I'm not.
But on the other side of it as well, Sean, he has had several chances where he could have took us to another level on football, and it just looks like he didn't. There is two sides to it.
But Sean will ignore that because it suits his narrative. Sean will ignore that. 500 without buying a player. Sean will ignore
the Champions League that we got to well ahead of our station. Were we Champions League finalists really? Where we were? Were we really that level? And because we got there, your demands are that we go, oh, there's an abnormal event where we somehow managed to get to a level that's well beyond our station. And unless he now then goes and digs into the well and does something else that isn't in the same role or rule of consistent, sustainable business, then if gravity comes back down to earth a little bit, somehow he's a cancer or a parasite, which is what people like you, Lubo, you use those words to ascribe, not you personally, but people that feel the same way that you do, ascribe to him. It's a disgrace. It's a disgraceful way to talk about people that have paid more tax for what it's worth than all of us put together in 10 years.
No, I'm one of the more ones guilty of using that phrase, Sean, yeah? Because it's a phrase I use. I ain't got the best way with words, yeah? But at the end of the day, when it comes to the football side, and the reason we haven't progressed to the extent that we should have progressed has been down to Daniel Levy. But then in the other aspects, the things that we have done is also down to him as well.
Hang on, Dan, just quickly. Go on. When you say the things that we could have done that we haven't, it's down to Daniel Levy. Can you qualify?
The way I look at it, it goes to the top basically. That's just my opinion.
Qualify what more could we have done?
Do you think he could have put more money into us and got us more transfers that we needed when we was at our peak when we got to that Champions League? Even though we got to it relatively early compared to maybe what we should have, because we was already on the way down as such. But in situations like that, I feel he's personally had situations where he could have took this a bit further and more played safe.
So the
he looked on the business side more.
The argument you're making is that when we punched above our weight, we could have acted like a club that doesn't sustain itself.
Why
I
shouldn't
think
you
that
say it, Sam?
when we was fighting for the
Sorry,
title,
Sean,
basically,
you really let yourself down there, Sean. You've really let yourself down.
How?
To say that we won't sustain ourselves, you're going from one extreme to another.
Yeah, we just
Why-
took on a
why
billion.
back then?
I'm guessing that you're all referring to the Champions League, the chance to kick on, right?
My point all along with Levy isn't to do with specific 90-minute games. My point with Levy, and I read out a 7-point manifesto of what he should have done when he joined the club.
Yeah, which was absolute waffle. Absolute waffle.
Yeah,
It
cool.
was buy low. It was buy low, sell high. It was aim more. It was strike
cool.
higher, strike well down top. It was all
Buy the
nonsense.
right time, buy the right players.
Yeah. Perfect. Well, bollocks.
Don't
What
hold out.
was that? It was the biggest waffle I've ever heard in my entire life.
You see, you're talking over me again. This is what people comment every time we have a conversation. Every time you talk over me, you
Don't
never
care
let me
about
finish.
people in the comments
You
that feel
never
the way
let me
that you
finish.
do, Lubo.
You never let me finish.
Don't care
Sorry,
about
Sam.
them,
This is
bro.
pointless, Sam. He just won't let
Guys,
me finish.
just one. Okay, all right. What, gentlemen, one at a time, and we'll have a great. It's a good debate when it's one at a time. Let's one at a time. Go on, Lubo. Carry on.
Every time. All I want. I have my own business. I give it my best shot. If I'm successful, if I'm not successful, that's down to me, but I give it my best shot. Levy has never given the football side his best shot, ever, in 25 years. I'm sorry, he hasn't. Sometimes you can get lucky, you can come across, you can win a trophy. Sometimes you come across, you can get good people who work for you. And yes, he's done well. He's brought some really good staff in, but he's lost.
Can you, for once, Lubo, please stop talking in subjectives that you make out as objective? Yeah. Just for once, tell me a fact, not something that you think is a fact because you believe it. Just for fucking once, bro, say something that's a fact, not, I'm sorry, it's a fact that he hasn't tried hard enough. That's your opinion. Explain it in a fact, mate, because it's boring as hell. You get pissed off with me interrupting you, but every time I let you speak, you say the same bollocky fucking subjective shit.
Okay, Jose came out. He was going to buy Diaz and he got rode on. Should have. Another one. See, I give you an example.
It's not an example. How do you know that to be a fact, mate?
Well, Jose came out and said
that's like saying that Tottenham should sign Guacarez because who's a liar?
Jose.
Oh, here we go again.
What Jose saying is wrong. Fair enough. Okay, if you don't believe it.
He's just another guy that's defending his argument, bro. Dude, okay. Just talk about facts. Facts, not hearsay. Not hearsay. Facts.
No, you just never listen to what I say. You try whatever.
I hear all you ever say is your opinion.
If I said it's dark out there, you'll say it's bright light.
If you tell me it's dark out there and I don't know the time and I've got no window, then I'll call you out, mate. Especially if you're trying to prove a point that it's dark. 100%, 100%. Because all you ever do is use people's opinions. And you tell me, I know some guy somewhere, I can't tell you anything about it. I can't give you the detail, but someone I know really close to the club told me this. I could do the same thing, mate. Just talk facts. The facts are that Daniel Levy has taken us to our second highest league finish in the history of our football club, our third highest league finish in the history of our football club. He's taken us to 7 finals. He won the Europa League. He got to the Champions League final. These are all facts, bro.
Those ones I don't blame on him. When it comes to finals and that, I say that's down to the players and down to the manager. Some people again will have different opinions. I'm just going to ask you an opinion here, Sean. Just an opinion here, yeah? And I'm just going to ask you an opinion here, Sean. Nothing more, nothing less. Just an opinion. Do you think there has been certain stages, though, where we've looked like we're progressing in the football, where we got a chance to take it up to another level, where he hasn't put in as much as maybe he could have, or he's held back a little bit and looked at the business side more? Purely an opinion.
Sure. 100%. I'm not saying he's perfect.
I've never said you did. It was just a fair question.
I criticize Daniel Levy as much as I praise him. When I come on third-party channels like Savva's or anyone else's that I've been on,
third-party, mate, this is premium. This is platinum.
I mean, like when I come onto channels that are not my own,
I'm joking.
When I come onto channels that are not my own, and I have these debates, the people in the comment section, who, by the way, same old names in there, like always, like Sue Smith, who told me I deserved a slap around the face. All that shit. I couldn't give a flying fuck about the opinions of those people because they tell you, Lubo, that I'm in the wrong. Like, doesn't bother me. They feel the same way you do, but they still can't ever answer the same questions. Drop me facts as to why it is that Daniel Levy. Hang on, you're over talking me now, bro. I'm not finished. You're over talking. Are you over? What?
I cannot listen.
I haven't finished, Lubo. You have a crack at me over talking me. Shall I? Can I? Okay, thank you. Right. At the end of the day, I say that Daniel Levy is as imperfect as any other human being. When you've been in a job for 25 years, you're going to make shitloads of mistakes. I criticize him all the time. But at the end of the day, when people say that he is a cancer or a parasite or that he's the worst thing since sliced bread, it is a wildly over-exaggerated version of events. It is a wildly disproportionate viewpoint on a guy that has taken us amongst competitive threats that are different level. I get bored of going over and over it again. But when Lubo wants to talk and says to me, here's the reason why you're wrong, Sean, and then says it's a fact that Daniel Levy doesn't give a fuck about the football. It's a fact that he never explains why. He just says that's it. It's a fact. And then it's his opinion. It just gets boring, repetitive, not nonsense, Lubo. Like, give me some facts.
Levy will spend enough to get us into a competitive position where the fans come in, where he's making money, but he never stretches that extra 10%. And we know that. You've said that, Sean. So for me, I'm never gonna see my team challenge and be competitive the way they should be if he had the same obsession with footballing success as he has with profit.
Can I ask a question then? Let me. I've been very quiet for, I don't know, probably the longest I've ever been quiet in my life. Lubo, let me ask from your point of view, and I'll have a question for the other side afterwards with Sean for his viewpoint. But Lubo, if Daniel Levy is this terrible chairman, he's done this terrible job and we need something different, what is it that you want to see? If what you're saying is correct, and if it is now that Charrington's got more say and that Vinay is running football, what do you want to see Vinay Venkatesham do that Daniel Levy didn't? Like what are the key metrics that Vinay Venkatesham needs to demonstrate in the next 3 or 4 years to show that we are in a different era?
Okay, number one, mentality, that desire, that determination, that tenacity to be a winner on the football pitch. That's number one. Levy's never shown that, ever.
Okay. Can you throw some objectives in there, mate? Not things that can be just dismissed and like debated.
Well, he hasn't, has he? He's not gone and competed with the big clubs.
But we have won. We got to the Champions League final, and we get to the Europa League final. We won it. Can you your 7-point plan? Can any of them be like things that we can have like objective ability to analyse?
In terms of putting money in towards players and squads and buying the right players at the right time, nothing where you are sustainably you're in there year after year after year. You might drop off for a couple of years, maybe, but you're not competing. We competed twice for the league.
We were in the Champions League. Well, we was in Europe for 15 of the last 17 years.
Okay.
Is that not like contrary to your argument?
Maybe I want a bit more than that, Sean. Maybe I want more.
Can you? All I've ever asked you, mate. The only reason I get so frustrated with you, is because when you give your 7-point plans, just once, can any of them ever be objective so that we can hold you to account like you hold him to account? Can we please have an objective line in the sand?
I just want him. You see, if this money coming in is the start of a buyout, then him and Lewis will walk away very rich people. Lewis, we know Lewis is very rich already. So, for argument's sake, say they sell the club for 3.5-4 billion. They bought a club that was valued when they bought the 29% for 22 million from Sugar. The club at the time was valued at 76 million. So they've taken it from 76 to 3 or 4 billion. Right, a lot of it has been helped to the money that has come in to football from television has it's just exploded. We talk about inflation with transfers, with wages, and profits as well.
Yeah, congratulations to him for picking a good stock.
So he has used that money that's come into football very well for them to build the value of his company.
Yeah.
So has Tony Bloom, so has Matt Benham, so has everybody else in football.
But he has also had positives on Spurs as well, because it's not just in the aspect, this is where I look at the other side as well. Yeah,
it's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard.
He might, I agree. I agree on a personal opinion, nothing more, that he's done this more for himself and the business than the actual football and the football club itself. But on the other side of it, okay, fine, do it for yourself, do it for your business. Hang on, Sean. Sean, hang on a second. Hang on, and I'll finish my point. Let me finish my point and then ask me the question. Let me finish my point and then ask me the question. I might actually answer your question with a point I'm trying to make.
Right.
But when you go to the other side of it, whether he's done it for himself or not, we are still in that position now where we are a very superior club in some aspects of where the next owners that come in can really take us to another level if they've got the ambition on the football side, because we've got literally everything sitting there on that side ready to go. And we just need the people who want to come in and focus more on that side now.
Yeah,
so it works on both sides. Sorry, Sean, go on, mate. You're just going to ask
the question is, he bought the club at this. It's now worth that.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Is he not responsible for that? If he isn't, if it's all down to money in football, then why is it that Brentford aren't worth 2 billion on the same ratio?
I agree with that aspect.
Brighton, that Bournemouth, that Leicester, that Leeds, that Wolves, that West Ham, why haven't they all elevated at the same level? Is none of it down to Daniel Levy? And if so, then congratulations to him. He's a fucking good businessman and he's taken us along for the ride. It's madness. The only teams that have outperformed us relative to the teams that were always like us are Manchester City and Chelsea, who are the beneficiaries of abnormal investment with people that have an abnormal relationship with money. Lubo, once again, mate, I'll ask you, for your 7-point fucking roster or whatever it was, your 7-point manifesto, can any of them ever be objective, line in the fucking sand, so that we can hold you to account? So that in a year's time, I can turn around and say, actually, Lubo asked for this. It was delivered. Are you still angry? Or Lubo asked for this. It wasn't delivered. Is that why you're still angry?
I'll try and find it. When I've got a minute, I'll try and find it and go through it with you point by point on the next show. I'll try and find it. I can't find it at the moment.
I heard it before, mate. Every single one of them was nonsense. It was buy low, sell high. It was show ambition. It was take advantage of the moment. It was all this waffle about predicting a perfect fucking relationship with timeline.
You can just diminish it. He's perfect in your eyes. Fantastic, Sean.
No,
Do you think he's perfect? You think he's wonderful? He's a great businessman. He's been wonderful for Tottenham Hotspur for 25 years.
I'm not asking you for any facts, mate.
That's what you think.
No,
No,
that is the problem with this side. That is the problem.
Why is it so hard for you, if you feel as strongly as you do, if you felt this way for as long as you have, why is it so hard for you to not have some objective fucking truths, bro? Objective.
Harry Redknapp's 3 points off the top. Transfer window comes. We know Harry came out and he said that he asked for Tevez and Cahill. Levy gave him Saha and Nelson. Now,
is that a fact? Is it?
What? I don't know. Everybody's
I think that is one of the problems.
Listen, you want to give every single fact.
Can you say that you're not someone to nitpick about individual moments?
I think one of the problems here. Look, hang on a second. I think one of the biggest problem is here with this. In a lot of things, Sean, a lot of what you're saying is fact because it comes down to revenue, because it comes down to it is standing there. I get that side. The other side of it, when it comes to football, I think is majority opinionated in football as a whole. Some people are going to be satisfied with 4th place every season and no cup. Some people are going to be satisfied with 7th place in a cup and say it's good enough for a club of our standard. Others, like me, are going to say that one ain't good enough. Other people, where you're going to definitely see something here, where I keep saying this, at the next protests, is how big are those protests going to be? How big are they going to get bigger because the majority of the protest was Levy out, or because half of it was Levy out and half of it was just there because they had the ump with Angel where he was? This is where we see how easily or uneasily some fans are satisfied. And on the football side, a lot of it does come down to an opinion, but there's definitely some more solid opinions than there is when it comes to other opinions to it. But on the fact side, on the other bit, but no, opinions don't beat facts. I'm not saying that, yeah. But on the business side,
opinions be based on facts.
I'm getting what you're saying, but I'm just saying people have got different standards on their opinions when it comes to the football side. When it comes to the business side, it's there, it's on paper, whatever. On the football side, some people will say we should have done that game. Other people will say, yeah, well, maybe that team's. Football side is a lot more opinionated on what we should do. I still personally think he has had chances where we could have gone a level or two, and he didn't take the gamble. He stuck with what he had. But on the business side, I can't fault the fella.
I want someone. All I want. I apologize profusely, Ian, if I'm coming across as rude. But the reality is, for people that are dialing in, right, that are watching this, this is the 500th time we've had this conversation, and every time it's exactly the same thing. I'm not trying to come across as like shouty and screaming, mate, but it gets so repetitive that you don't ever answer the simple fact. Like, I don't have a problem how anyone gets to where you land, right? I'm not Levy in. I am more than happy for that guy. I encourage him to move on, having done what he's done. It's time for the big boys to take over. We're on the same page on that one, Lubo. But when you reflect on the past 25 years, and the reason why I get so frustrated, mate, is because we've had this conversation 100 times, and I still see you to this day going on channels saying the same things that we have had arguments about on my show and other shows on this channel. And I've corrected you and shown you the detail, the data, and the facts after the show. Hang on, let me. Hang on, that's fine. But then 1 second, man. You have a crack at me about over talking. So we're going to be good for the goose, good for the gander here. I apologise to you if I get aggressive, mate. I don't mean to, but it just drives me up the wall that I've asked you 1,000,000 times to name some facts, some objectives, some easily delineable lines in the sand of like what it is that this guy wants, that you want from him. And this, I know he might be moving on now, so it's like it's irrelevant. But over the last 3 years or 2 years that I've known you, mate, I've had this conversation with you 100 times, and every time you still dress up your opinion like it's a fact. You do not come with facts. I do. You don't. That's the thing that's irritating.
All right, facts. 40 years before Enoch took over, 13 trophies, 1 league championship, 6 FA Cups, 3 European trophies, 3 League Cups, 13 in 40 years. Not a league team, but a very consistent cup team. So we were known as a good cup team, and it gave all the fans some fantastic nights out. Who can forget Ricky Villa's goal? Who can forget Tony Parks? Who can forget Gazza's free kick at Wembley? Mabbott lifting the cup after we were saved from bankruptcy, after being 18 million in debt through Scholars business.
Yeah, we won a lot of trophies back then, for sure.
That's right. We won an awful lot then. I'm not even counting charity shields. Let's just stick with the trophies.
Yep.
Enoch come in, and yes, you've got Chelsea and Man City that are doing business in a different way. Yes, I do want the ball to take risks. I don't want anybody to take stupid risks. I just want calculated risks. Enoch have been risk averse. Okay.
So on the trophy front, so from 1976 to 2000, just as one 25-year period, Tottenham won 4 trophies. Right, just for facts here. You talk about a fact. I'm going to counter with you some facts.
Right.
Aston Villa won. Hang on.
84, 91, 99.
Hang on a second. Yeah, cool. Yeah, well done for knowing it. Aston Villa won 4 trophies. How many trophies have they won in the time since Daniel Levy took over? I'll give you the answer. It's 0. Hang on. I'm not quite finished. Everton won 4 trophies in that same 25-year period before Daniel Levy took over. How many trophies have they won since Daniel Levy took over? I'll give you a clue. The answer is 0. Chelsea at that point had won 3. They've won a lot more since. You know how many they've won more since? They've won 15 trophies since then, 16 after tonight. Why? Well, we know why. Something that you don't like to consider as an irrelevant factor, but it is what it is. Leicester won 2 trophies less than us in that period, right? Is that a relevant factor? How about Manchester City? They'd won 1 trophy in that period. You know how many trophies they've won since? 19. Let's talk about Wimbledon, Coventry, West Ham, Ipswich, Luton Town, Oxford, Norwich, Wolves, Blackburn, Leeds and Southampton. They won 2 or 1 trophy between them. Only 50% less than Tottenham in that 25-year period. How many of any of those teams have won trophies since? I'll give you a clue. The answer is 0. Do you want to go back to the 25 years before? I can keep on going, Lubo. The reality is the game has changed. The game has changed.
Years before we won 8.
That bit I agree with.
I can carry on though, mate. I can talk to you about Leeds United. They won 4 trophies in that period. Newcastle United, Everton, West Brom, West Ham, Derby, Forest, Ipswich, Burnley, Blackpool, Bolton, Sunderland, Norwich, Leicester, Birmingham, QPR.
Basically,
and
None of
Stoke.
them won
How
13.
many of those teams have won a trophy, mate, since Daniel Levy took over? The answer is 0. The game has changed. The paradigm shifted. Stop comparing what we used to do to what
Let's
we
just
currently
by
do.
the way.
Because if you're going to make that argument, it's very easy to say, well, what happened to the rest of those teams that used to be successful?
Well, my
Basically,
question-
up until a certain point, was what happened was, for me, you had 3 teams in that league that have consistently over the past 25 years, they basically earned their name. Liverpool, Man U, Arsenal, whether people like it or not. They earned their name. But then you had the big sugar daddies coming for Chelsea. Nobody stood a chance against it. Then they did it for Man City. Then you've also seen other clubs improve steadily because all of a sudden they've had a club owner with big money coming and everything. And we've had to fight this the whole time as well. I mean, it's...
We've had big money.
I do get where you're coming from. We haven't been able to compete with the likes of Chelsea, with the likes of City. We never could. No, I know. I'm just using us as the example at the minute. Yeah, I'm agreeing with what you're saying to an extent. And really, if we're going to be honest, Ian, we have never been able to compete with Arsenal. Never been able to compete with Liverpool. Never been able to compete with Man United, bar maybe 3 or 4 seasons here and there, sort of thing. We've never been able to do it because they are bigger, superior, better clubs than we have been. Whereas the other ones, we were able to compete with Chelsea. We were better than Man City. We were better than Chelsea. We were better than a lot of teams out there. But all of a sudden, the sugar daddy comes in and no one stands a chance. If we go to another side, look at PSG. Who the hell were PSG? People always tell me they was a big club. They was nobody. PSG was nobody until they
don't care about anyone but their club.
I'm just looking at both sides of the situation.
You have to know what your other clubs are doing. And Lubo, you don't do it. I've just explained to you categorically, factually, right? Factually, I asked you for facts. You gave me one. I just countered with the reason why what you're saying is true. It's 100%. It's a fact, but there's context to it. For every time you mention Tottenham's history, I could bring up 15 other clubs that used to have just as strong or nearly as strong a history over the last 75 years. I've done a show on it. I literally did a 3-hour review on the 75-year history of domestic cups and explained why it is that Tottenham, alongside everybody else, are not as successful as they used to be. So rather than comparing this Tottenham to the old Tottenham, start comparing this Tottenham to the teams that actually win. Rather than the previous format of yourself, look at your peers. And what's the difference? And it's money in football. And Daniel Levy and Joe Lewis, whether it's the right way or wrong way to do it, you can hate the fact that there's not some sugar daddy pumping money in. At the end of the day, Daniel Levy won a European trophy and almost got the holy grail of trophies, doing it organically in the face of all these people that have drilled more money out of the ground in about 6 months than has ever been printed in the history of mankind. And you don't give him any credit for that. Instead, you'll posit to subjective narratives that you can't prove, you can't ask anyone to validate because it doesn't suit your narrative. I'll go back to it again. Give me facts as to why Daniel Levy is the cancer that you think he is.
Listen, I just want a chairman and owners who are going to give it 100%. Give it a go. That's all I want. If they get there, they get there. If they don't, they don't. But give it a go because they're happy to charge the fans the highest prices.
It's not the highest prices.
They are the highest prices. You can find anomalies like Fulham Stand, but overall,
why is Fulham Stand? Why is that Fulham Stand the most expensive? Because they're paying off the debt of the stadium, right? Why is our stand the most expensive? Because why is our stadium most paying off the debt? It's the same rhetoric, it's the same reality, mate. It's like you just divorce yourself from reality when you make these
basically a mortgage. You're saying basically like a mortgage sort of thing.
Yeah, Lubo goes, we're charging money, therefore, ergo, we should demand the most. If that was true, everybody would charge.
Sean, the money for the ground is more than covered. We've been told that the events are covering the mortgage on the grounds. We've been told that football.
What does that even mean? What does that even mean?
What does it mean?
Part of the price of tickets.
It means that the money coming in. It means that the fans are being overpriced. If you don't think that,
why are they being overpriced? Why are they being overpriced?
Why?
There's an 80,000 seater waiting list, mate. Do you know what you want? Dude, you're a businessman. It's like you just walked out of bed. You're still wearing your school shorts. You understand business, Lubo.
Now you're getting out of order. Now you're getting personal.
You say things that are just so stupid, mate.
I spoke to someone at Spurs who was offered a season ticket before Ange started. He was 30,000 on the list.
Yeah. But he was one guy, right? He was one person.
He was offered. So if he's 30,000, then everybody up on that list.
No, that's not true. Yeah, see, you're being silly again, mate. Because sometimes there might be people that are looking for 4, like a family that are looking for 4 in a row. Okay, so they might have been on the waiting list for 10 years because 4 in a row don't come around very often. At the end of the day, there is still an 80,000 seat waiting list. Just because one individual might get shooted ahead because he'll sit anywhere doesn't mean that there's not an 80,000 seat waiting list, Lubo.
Are you aware that if you are a member, you are put on that waiting list? You count as being on that waiting. You may not even
if you're a gold member, a premium member, whatever it's called.
You may not have any intention of buying a season ticket. You might be on there because you can go to a few games a season and you will apply it as a member.
So what you suggest is your argument that there's no waiting list at all? That if Tottenham Hotspur raise their prices 10%, are you suggesting that the Emirates Stadium will be empty?
I didn't say there's no waiting list at all. I don't know what the waiting list is. But what I'm saying is that whatever the waiting list is, that is not 100% of people that want a season
Even
ticket.
if it's 50% true, even if 50% of them are genuinely waiting and the other 50% are just members, there's still a waiting list.
We're having a fantastic loyal fan base, I think, who have been shortchanged by these owners.
Anything to undermine it, mate.
You know what? On another side of it, though, on Ian, where I see it from your side on this one, is I do feel, and this one I can only say is purely down to opinion again, So with that one, I do feel that we do have to pay for the highest, like we're going and shopping in a very high shopping centre, and yet we come out with some of the poorest stuff. It started to go uphill a bit lately, but when you are, I know you can't dictate what happens in a game, but when you are putting the most money and paying the most, and you're seeing that your club has one of the highest revenues on the planet, you do sort of start expecting better. You do start wanting better, and I think that's just normal of a person. That when you go and when you go and spend £90, £120 on a pair of jeans, you want them to last in that wash about over for the next year or two. Not just like when you go and spend £9 on them and they don't even fit you once you put them in the wash once because they fell apart.
Where did Tottenham fit on the jean scale, mate? Are we Armani jeans or are we Temu jeans or are we Levi's? Where are we where are we in the mix?
Do you know what? If I'm going to have to rate us as a scale on jeans, I'd say now we're Levi's because we definitely ain't up with Armani and Hugo Boss and Lacoste and everything else, but we definitely ain't down there with Primark.
Okay.
I think we have come up to a standard now, and with what we're seeing here and now, we're starting to see progression. It's just over the years, I think a lot of us, me being one of them, have felt the way that with the amount of money getting pumped into the club from all angles, even though it has to pay off things as well, like a mortgage and that, I get that, but still has an extremely high revenue, and you don't see that going towards the sort of players that, call it opinionated, but a lot of us think we could go up a level or two. You start thinking, well, hang on a minute, where's your ambition for the football side? I get the business side, and this needs to be one, but then everything says that we do have some of the most revenue out there and can do this, but then a lot of us don't know also what goes beyond the lines on the business side either. But I'm only going from how you can translate it from how it comes across.
Okay. So
call it. I said it's opinion.
I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. Opinions are fine. I've got no problem with people having an opinion. But it's just Lubo backs his opinion up, and this is why I get so frustrated. I love you to pieces, Lubo, but like you back up your opinion with facts that are just your opinion. It's the way that you word it, mate, and that's what invokes me to get so like frustrated back. And I apologise to everybody if I've like been overly aggressive. It's just this is not my first rodeo with Lubo. This happens once a week for the last like 2 years that I've known him. And yet he says things, and then I go backstage after the show in the past I've done, and I'll show him reasons why what he said in the show is like incorrect or in fact like infactual. And he goes, "Oh, thanks for letting me know." And then 2 hours later, drops off and it goes on the Tottenham away and says exactly the same shit I just corrected him on. And it's like you have an influence, Lubo. You say things, people gobble your stuff up, and it pisses me off because like you know what you're saying at times is just not true, mate. That's why I get so frustrated.
But it is also things he's done to the fan base as well, isn't it? He has come across like at times with some of the dirty tricks he has pulled, like what he's done to the elderly people and that. And I get it. It's a dog-eat-dog world. It's business. But a lot of other clubs seem to be more interested in actually keeping their fans happy at the same time. Whereas Levy seems to not give a monkeys about the fans and just gets on with it. And that's also frustrating as well from a fan's point of view.
100%, mate. I'm not sitting here saying that Daniel Levy is like perfect. Far from it. No,
you don't. And I'm not saying you don't.
For him to leave. But this notion that he is just this horrendous chairman, like that anyone but him will do. And by the way, I've done walkthroughs in my stadium on my content. I've literally got a camera out and walked up and down the stadium on the day that the Change for Tottenham had their big march, right? And I did. There was no cuts, no edits. It was one giant long take. I went up to random people. Some people told me to F off. Other people indulged. And there was like 8 people that I asked that said, I said, is Levy your guy? They said, no. I said, who do you want? I went, anyone but him. I went, anyone but him. They went, yep, anyone but him. He's horrendous. And this is the part of the fan base that I think are just so ingratiated and ingrained in their opinion. And it's a ridiculous stance. And I think, Lubo, you represent them.
And that is why I ask people to look on both sides of a situation. At least get the other side. You don't have to understand it and you don't have to bloody agree with it, but at least be willing to get the other side. But Ian, a lot of the time you do get the other side, but there's other times where you don't.
Listen, if
I agree with you both on everything you've said, basically.
Wanting to sell, ground's lovely. I'm sure that I'm not being the training ground's lovely. Does it affect me? No, it doesn't. I go to watch my team. I'll sit in my seat. I was very happy at the Old Lane. Thought it was a great atmosphere there. I understand why we had to knock it down and build up to move on, to bring in the extra revenue. But all of this is meant to be so that we can compete. We can compete with the superpowers in Europe as well as the superpowers here. Because if you're running a football club and you're knocking down a ground and you're building a new ground, okay, I'm sure we've been affected because of the build. Every club would be. There's no getting out of it. Arsenal were affected with the cost of their build after the Emirates went up. I'm not that naive. I just want them to give a bit more. That's all. That's what I've been asking for. Don't be reckless. Don't make us unsustainable. But there has been, when you look at we're the lowest wages to revenue in the Premier League. That's fact, Sean. Not subjective. That is fact. The figures are there. You've studied the figures. You've seen them. Why can't we be 50, 60% and get better players, which would give us a better team?
We had that conversation before.
That would give us a better opportunity to win these games. When we're up against, we get to a League Cup semi-final, we're out of our depth against Liverpool completely.
Okay, so that's the frustration, right? Your anger with Daniel Levy is that he hasn't created a team that is capable of competing with the very best team in the world.
Not the best team in the world. Competing.
Liverpool are the best team in the world. One of. Okay. Chelsea are the best team in the world, are they? But even if you want to use Chelsea, I don't think the Club World Cup makes you the best team in the world. But even if you're comparing us to Chelsea, they've done it through cheating. Or not cheating, but they've manipulated the rules, right? But they are not a sustainable model. They are a business that is they are a business that your daddy keeps pumping money into because you can't run a model, right? That's the reality, right? But they don't know how to make ends meet. We do, and like I said, it's 1,000 times the equivalent. It's the equivalent of your wife being angry with you because the guy next door won the lottery and they're suddenly driving a Ferrari.
You know what, Sean? What I would give to have on those 18, 19 years when Roman was chairman as a fan, for what those fans have had,
right? Yeah,
would be.
You hate.
Hang on.
That you have. You hate.
Hang on.
Roman Abramovich.
Abramovich put in $1.5 billion over 20 years. That through Boris he lost. So you're averaging 75 million a year.
He loaned the company $1.5 billion. He also was doing all sorts of shenanigans off the books. All sorts of shenanigans, mate. Go and look into his PA.
Can I ask you a question? If you're a Chelsea fan, would you care? Would you care?
That's what. No, I wouldn't. I absolutely wouldn't. You're absolutely right. But again, I come back to my point. Your venom towards Daniel Levy is that he's not Roman Abramovich. It's the equivalent of the salty wife. Because the girl next door that you have a problem with, she's got a husband who just won the lottery.
didn't say
your
don't
argument.
be reckless. I just said a few minutes ago, don't be reckless. Give a bit more. As I say, make
You
that.
just compared him to Roman Abramovich, mate.
You're just using Chelsea's example. You can use any.
You used Chelsea as the example, not
That's
me.
right.
You did.
You know what, Sean? I want to see my team win. And if Enoch loaned Tottenham X amount of money over their period and we won several trophies, I'd be absolutely delighted. As a football fan, I'd be delighted. Because I've got to tell you something, as a shareholder, I don't benefit. I've not had one dividend in 28 years. Not one. Levy gets out of paying the shareholders' dividends by taking a bonus. Doesn't even care about the dividend. There's 30,000 small shareholders that own 13% of Tottenham Hotspur.
So you would rather our club become a shareholder-paying company?
Not one of them.
Is that what you want? Is that what you want? By the way, just so I can clarify. Just so I can clarify. Just because you mentioned this about 1,000 times as well. Are you advocating that Tottenham Hotspur move to a model where the owners of the club take dividends? Is that what you're asking? Is that what you're advocating?
And you're going to turn around and say, put it on the market then. Put it on the
stock. No, I'm not. I'm asking you, are you advocating so that you get something back? So it's about you, so that you get something back, for that to happen, for you to get a couple of quid here and there, because you've already said you've got very little money in the club. For you to get your dividends, huh?
I never say I have no money. What I'm saying is,
you misheard me. You've already articulated. Hang on a second, Lou.
We have an owner who has.
You've already articulated on a previous show 1,000 times that you are a very small shareholder.
Correct.
I didn't say you have no money. I said that you have very little money in the club. In the club, right? So for you to get your slice of a dividend, you are advocating for the entire company to pivot to a dividend model. Is that what you want, so that you can be satisfied?
I think if Levy's taking out the money that he is, then the shareholders should take some money out as well. It's going to be tiny compared to what he takes, but why should he take and the shareholders not take? Sorry,
because compensation works that way in private companies. That's the way it works, mate. That's the way compensation works. You own a private company, right? You own a private company. I'm sure you don't take everything as a salary, do you? I'm sure you take dividends, right?
No, I'm not limited.
Well, okay, more for you. But the reality is,
don't need to pay two lots. Don't need to pay employer and employees national insurance, Sean. Don't need to pay on one man. Why would I pay twice?
I'm not here to give you an education, mate, but it would be a lot cheaper. It would be a lot cheaper in a different way. The reality is, mate, that Tottenham Hotspur are being compared to, in your example, to Chelsea. It wasn't me that brought Chelsea up. You brought up Chelsea. You said that Roman Abramovich was the benchmark. He was the guy that got in 2007 or whenever it was. Before the rules came in. You brought up Chelsea. You were comparing us to them. If you're saying that the reason why you hate Daniel Levy is because he is not Roman Abramovich, then I have nothing more to say to you, because you are comparing apples and fucking oranges again.
My problem is with Levy is that he and Lewis is that they have never given 100% to the football side. They've never stretched themselves. That's my problem with Levy. They've never given 100%.
I can't argue with you on an opinion, mate. That's the problem.
Okay.
Every time you give a fact, it's very easy to. But even when I go into opinions, I ask you specifics. Were you happy with the following 25 signings? We did this last time.
Listen, Connor gave you a fact that we are $1 billion behind on wages. I think is over X amount of years. And listen, they're facts. Those are facts.
It's also facts that Tottenham Hotspur are 6 years into a $1 billion stadium debt that none of the other clubs are. Right? So as much as Connor can give facts, he's also cherry picking. I love Connor to pieces. I really do. But Connor likes to cherry pick as well, like we all do.
Sure. We could, even if it's not $1 billion, we could have gone halfway to that. They've had the money. Spurs are the most profitable Premier League club since the Premier League started.
Because the other teams during that period were spending money that they don't have. It's a comparable thing, mate. Lubo, it's like.
Do you know what?
I'm struggling to understand how a guy as intelligent as you are, as experienced in business as you are, you're so experienced in this stuff, mate. You act like the things that you say just don't like level up.
I keep saying to you, don't be reckless. be sustainable, but stretch yourself. And there is a gap. We could have stretched ourselves and still been sustainable.
So £125 million average spend over the last 5 years isn't stretching ourselves relative to the 5 years.
Right, I've got to shoot. I'll catch up with you later. Have a good night.
Yeah,
Enjoy.
Dan. Cheers,
Thanks for
mate.
having us on.
Cheers.
Take care, people.
Sorry, Dan. Sorry, mate. Sorry.
I'm talking about 25 years, Sean. I'm not talking about the lot. You know, he didn't spend money for so long, and then he brings in the wrong people and gives them plenty of money to spend. So he puts it right on one side and screws it up on the other. He brought Munn and Ange in, and even
I really hope that like people that are impartial can forgive me for my overly aggressive tone, but can hear the difference in the arguments, because the arguments that you present, Lubo, are just incredibly loose, mate. It's so loose, bro. It's so loose. It's
right. Can I just add something before we wrap up in the next 5 minutes? Lots of people saying to me, Savva, offer your opinion. I just think that sometimes when two people are having a good set to, let them go. And guys, you've got to remember in the chat, please let me tell you this, that everybody on here likes each other. These are football debates. You lot crack me up in the chat. You want to see the rows. You want to see the debates. And then when you see them, you go, oh, he's so rude. And, oh, I can't believe him. He chats shit, but him, it's like, you love it. It's why you watch. So just relax. Let them get on with it. Everything's fine. They're both big boys.
Wait till there's 5 of us.
Wait
till there's 5 of us.
Wait till there's 5 of us. Yeah, but the moment
I'll be telling you, it's going to be the Spurs 4 if you come with that same level of argument, mate. I can't do this every week. I can't do it every week, mate.
We won't need to.
It's repetitive. It's annoying.
It's all changed at the top. We won't need to.
But by the way, guys, everyone in the chat, lots of people asking about the Spurs 5. We are looking provisionally a date of the 24th, provisionally, because things move, things happen. But provisionally, we're looking at that. So 11 days away. But we'll keep you updated, and you'll see why when we start. You'll see the surprise we've got in store. Listen, just to give my 2 pence worth, and I'm someone that I've probably moved very much, not into the middle in the last year or so, but very much have more of an appreciation for different factors that I didn't before. And I'm somebody that I don't like what Daniel Levy's done. I think Lubo is 100% right in terms of there are times for me where I think he really could have kicked us on. I think there were times where it was like it was there. He did all the hard work, got us there, and then just wouldn't quite push that envelope over the line, so to speak. But at the same time, I don't blame Daniel Levy, which I know a lot of Levy fans, Levy out fans do. I don't blame him for losing cup finals. I've said this a million times. I feel it's really disingenuous where people go, oh, but you didn't have a chance in the Champions League final. And I'm like, well, hang on. We got there. For a team that hasn't got a chance to win it, we've got there by beating some of the best teams in the world. But we weren't good enough to win it, apparently, so I do see both sides of the argument. I do also think, though, that it's time that Levy step aside. I've always maintained in the last few years, be the revenue guy, be the commercial guy, be the guy that runs concerts, boxing, NFL, do all that. Brilliant. I don't think there's anyone better to have than Daniel Levy to do that. But I do want someone else running the football side. I just think that, as well, what I'd like to see is if that does happen, and Spurs aren't amazing, what's going to happen to this debate? What's going to happen to this rhetoric that, I don't know if people think that the moment Daniel Levy steps away from his football duties, that suddenly we compete with City and Liverpool. And I mean, if that doesn't happen, what's the rhetoric going to be? Is it going to be, we still going to blame Daniel Levy? Or are we going to blame the new guy? Or, I'm interested to see what it is moving forward. I just think I've got to a stage, guys. I've got to a stage where me personally, I've just got a little bit bored of every single thing that happens, the answer being Daniel Levy. I've said, for anyone that will decompartmentalize what I've said, I don't want him as the football side of it anymore. But I'm also really bored that every time a deal goes wrong, it's Levy. Every time we sign a good player, well, this clearly isn't Levy. Every time we win a competition, it's the manager and the players. Every time we lose a competition, it's Levy. I do find that there needs to be a bit of a middle ground. So I agree with Sean on a lot and disagree with him on a lot. I agree with Lubo on some stuff, disagree on a lot, because it does feel very much like whatever happens at the football club, Daniel Levy's name. There's been games we've lost and people come straight onto their YouTube channels and go, well, Levy didn't back the manager. You're like, yeah, we just lost to Ipswich at home. Like, that's not, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not blaming a manager for, not blaming a chairman for that. So I just feel like at some point this has got to, we've got to move on from it, right? We've got to move on from this blaming Levy for everything. Hey, that's just me. And I don't know if that's me just trying to sit on the fence, but I just feel like it's just got a little bit silly now. And I don't feel like there's any other club that do this with their owners as much as, well, Man United fans might have something to say on that, but I don't feel there is.
I implore anybody that's watching, there's 1,000 people watching, anyone that can put a stronger argument, with no disrespect to Lubo, but like Lubo, like I've asked him 100 times for some facts. Anybody that wants to come with facts and a strong argument, please bring this to me. I'm not looking for like, I don't care who's right or who's wrong, but I just want to have a debate with like consistent logic, narrative that is like just, this is how I feel and these are the reasons, and it doesn't involve my feelings. It's all I've ever asked for. It's all I've ever asked for. I sincerely apologize to you, Lubo, if I've been rude to you tonight and in the past, by the way. I'm not that sort of person. And the same to anyone in the comments who feels that way. I 100% don't mean to be. I just get super frustrated with having the repetitive, the illogical rationales of these are my feelings. Right? Just please, for the love of God, someone who feels so strongly about an owner where they call them all the names under the sun and they think that they are the worst, that this guy is the worst thing that could ever happen to Tottenham and that like anyone but him will do. Please reach out to me if you want to come on to my channel or to Savva's. I'll do it anywhere, and then explain to me with facts why it is that opinion is that take is valid. Because I can't continue to engage, because I end up like annoying people and I get pissed off with myself. When I watch this shit back the next day, I go, oh Jesus Christ, why are you swearing? You're losing your tempo. It's not cool. I don't mean to. I apologize to you, Luba. I apologize, Savva. But I get so frustrated with having to debate feelings. It's just, it's
right.
Can I just say, there is massive pressure. We are going to wrap up in a bit, but there is going to be massive pressure on, if it comes out that Daniel Levy has stepped aside, the pressure on the new chairman, I mean, is going to be, not chairman, the pressure on the person running the football side is going to be absolutely astronomical. I'm really intrigued. I'll say it again, guys. I'm really intrigued to see it. Is that chairman going to get stick if he's not won a league in 5 years? Is that chairman going to get stick if he doesn't sign the world's bet? Like, I'm interested from that side.
Comparisons of Liverpool, Chelsea, and like, unless we start to behave in that regard, and even then, if it doesn't work out, you see Arsenal fans, Savva, you're friends with them. Well, I'm friends with them. We see Arsenal fans all day long losing their shit because they're not first. They're second. They've been second for 4 years, but they're not first. They are. It's just the tapestry of football. Right? It is what it is. Football fans are just like forever impatient, forever ungrateful, forever demanding. I get it, but if you're going to have an argument, the debate, then I can't debate against feelings, and then because it annoys me going round and round in circles, I end up losing my temper. So I apologise, but like, someone bring me facts as why Daniel Levy is as bad as people say he is.
Would you say that's a fair comment, Sean? What's on the screen now?
What's that?
Would you say
he's done a good job, but he's done little on the football success side? That's facts. It's not facts. It's opinion. We got to the Champions League final. We won the Europa League. We got to 7 finals in the last 21 years. Like, what are we doing here? It's not. It's like he's done little on the football success side. Again, relative to what? In what context? That's not a fact. It's not a fact, Nathan. It's not a fact, mate. That's just an opinion. Come on, guys. Like, what? Like, Nathan, mate. I don't know you, bro. But like, do you not know the difference between an opinion and a fact, Savva? I don't want to be doing this. Like, I know you're happy to do this on your channel. I'll be happy to do it on my channel. I don't want to do it on your channel. But like, come on. There's a level of education here between a fact and an opinion. It's madness. It's madness.
Yeah. Look, I listen. As I said, look, I'm going to wrap up. I've got to do some super chats, guys, and then we will end the show. But last thing I'll say is, listen, it's good to have strong. It's good to have strong characters. It's good to have different sides. If we all felt the same, people, imagine how shit the shows would be. Can you imagine if all three of us just sat here and went, yeah, we all agree this is great.
I think that's part of the problem. I think a lot of people in life spend all their time in echo chambers, in WhatsApp groups or on YouTube channels or on Discords or in whatever format or fashion. A lot of people, not just in football, by the way, in politics, they surround themselves with people that feel the same way as they do. And when someone else comes in and says, hey, by the way, I don't agree, then you start hearing things like, I'm going to fall out with you if you keep saying that. It's because you're not open-minded. It's because you're closed-minded, because you keep being told the same thing by people that agree with the same way that you think. You should go out of your way in life. You should go out of your way to find people that disagree with you and engage with them, because it opens your mind to other perspectives. And I think in life, and certainly in football, a lot of people just like they surround themselves with people that feel the same way, and then they represent themselves in narratives that they can't differentiate opinions from facts, for example.
Absolutely. You know, it's like you know, you look at any specific thing, you see what goes on in the newspapers, read different newspapers, or see different TV channels, and then form an opinion.
Problem is, if you're into American politics, if you watch, it wasn't that long ago, Lubo, that if you were watching like Fox News on the same day as CNN, for example, you'd at least see two different takes on the same story. Today, Fox News are talking about one thing, CNN are talking about the other, because they don't want to engage in the story that makes their side look bad. So you have to be incredibly diligent with your access to information, because otherwise you're going to fall into the same trap of just always finding information that supports your narrative. It's a challenge, but it's something that everyone should go out their way to try to achieve, because otherwise you end up being in a chamber.
Absolutely.
Let me do some super chats. We'll wrap up, guys. We will wrap up because tomorrow's a big day. Morgan Gibbs-White is signing, and so is Paulinho, and so is Wharton, and so is Eze. So it's a big day for Tottenham Hotspur.
And Wissa.
And Wissa as well. Yeah, we're on a five. We're on a 5-man. Can you imagine? We're
going to have a squad as big as Chelsea soon.
If we sign Vista before Morgan Gibbs-White, I think there'll be a meltdown. Even though he's a good player, I think people will go, we'll sign him. That means we're not getting Gibbs-White. No, someone leave it out. I don't know. Something will happen.
You have to laugh. Listen, big up to everyone. Let me go through these super chats. Are you ready? Steady. Let's go. Big up to my man Sanctuary 7 who said, thank you for clearing that up, Sav. Oh, is this back to the Lidl? Is this back to the Lidl? Did you think I know I had to say Lidl because I'm a tramp that shops in Lidl? Sorry if you do shop in Lidl, but I'm going to go before I tie myself up in that one. Good luck to anyone that does. I'm a Tesco man or a Sainsbury's man, me. Anyway, big up to you, 7. Really appreciate you. 164 Spurs said, big up Sav and up the Greeks. Yeah, why not? Up the Greeks. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. Up the Greeks. Other than Marinakis, we're not happy with that Greek. Today, he's not part of my crew. Big up to you, 164 Spur. Really appreciate you. Big up to Craig Fenner, who said, just heard on Tottenham Till I Died that the agent offered Morgan Gibbs-White to Spurs and told them of the clause 3 days before our offer was made. Believe what you like from their ITK. Listen, look, I'm sure there's 1,000,001 theories and stories going on as to what happened. All I care about is what is the end result at this stage. What's happened has happened. Let's get this deal done. And in Levy or Vinay, whoever's doing this deal, we trust. I won't ask those two who, because they'll both tell me someone different. But I trust either one of those gentlemen to get it done. Big up to you, Craig Fenner. Big up to Leon King. I'll let Sean respond to this. I don't normally let my guests respond to super chats, but I think it's only fair. Maybe Sean should watch Bloomberg instead of Spurs.
I don't watch Bloomberg. I watch CNBC every day. I've got a TV up here. I have it on. It's on right now. I have CNBC on all day, every day. So, yeah, thank you, Lion King. Plenty Bloomberg. Bloomberg's poor man CNBC. But thank you for the offer.
Oh, big up to you. Thank you for paying to have that read out. I'll give half that super chat to Sean when I see him next week. I owe you. You can have the 99p. I'll take the £1. All right. Big up Leon King. Ian JD said Spurs would have been a lot more successful under Levy had it not been for Chelsea and City moving the goalposts. look, again, it's one of those. You could argue it. You could say we don't know, but sure. Listen, I've said this for ages. City and Chelsea. How do people compete with them? It's so difficult. Liverpool right now trying to do that. Yeah. Are we going to see Liverpool win one league title and then fall away like normal, or are they going to now dominate? I suspect these two clubs will win a lot more in the next 3 or 4 years. Well, Chelsea have just won another trophy tonight. So big up to you, Ian. A really good point. Thank you, Daniel Field, for putting in the super sticker. Very generous, my man. Thank you very much. Very, very generous of you. And if that wasn't generous enough, Daniel Field's come in with another super sticker on the super sticker train. Thank you very much. All aboard the super sticker train. Thank you, Daniel. My man Mark Smith. Thank you very much. Mark said, why no naming rights after 6 years if money needs? I'm genuinely not going to ask the panelists that right now, Mark. But we will get into it. I mean, look, we'll get into it. There'll be more shows. There'll be more shows. These two, when they see each other on a stream, they can't help it. They're attracted to each other. So we will talk about that soon. But look, it looks like the naming rights are coming now. Watch this space. Big up to you, Mark. Thank you very much for your generous chat. Big up to Phil Coys. Hope you're well, Phil. Thank you very much for the super sticker on the super sticker train. Big up to you, my man. We've got a new member. Big up Ian James. Welcome, sir. Thank you very much. And look out for the members only show, which will be Tuesday or Wednesday this week. So look out for that, where you can come on live and we can all chat and meet and just have a mother's meeting about Spurs, and we can slag off Sean and Lubo because they'll never know, they'll never see it. We'll just slag those two off for the next show. That's what we'll do on the member show.
How do you know I'm not a member via a soccer account?
There you go. Well, maybe you're watching. Well, if I slag you off, you'll know. Big up, Ian. Thank you very much for that. Welcome. Big up, Mark Smith has come back in again and says Spurs have spent more than Liverpool and won less. Fact. Or, yeah, I should have read this out earlier. That would have given Lubo that little kidney punch, wouldn't it, to finish him off when Sean had him on the ropes, but he stood tall. Big up, Mark. Yeah, listen, Liverpool.
Did he get down? Did he take an 8 count via opinions? I don't know.
Oh, dearie me. Thanks, Mark. Big up to Section 7, who's gifted a Football Heritage TV membership. Thank you very much. Whoever got that, please say thank you. It's the nice thing to do. Thank you very much, 7. You are very generous to me. You always has been. Thank you very much. You've generous again. You've come back in and said, I'm a Tesco man too. Big up to you. Yeah, it's all about the Tesco. Although right at the end of my road, I do have a little Waitrose in one of those petrol station things. You know, like a little, I don't know, it's called like a little, I don't know, something. Anyway, big up to you. Thank you very much, 7. And to wrap it all up, thank you very much to Mark. Very generous again. Another super sticker. Thank you very much to everybody. It just leaves me to say this. Please do get over to Spurs Talk Show. He is flying. He is flying. Smash the subscribe button for Sean. Please follow Lubo on his X channel, which is at Lubo_61. Big up to Lubo as well. Thank you for coming on. Thank you for so quick after your holiday. Please subscribe to myself. We've had 400 subscribers in the last 3.5 days, which is crazy. Please keep subscribing. We are just over 600 away now from the 20K. So hopefully we get there before too long. Thank you very much. Thank you for all the likes. Thank you for the subscribers, Sean. Thank you, Lubo. Thank you. Much love. Take care. And as always, come on. Vinay, Lubo out. And come on, you Spurs.